the headmaster of the greatest learning institute, a mediator for many countries, one of the strongest in the world, and most probably the strongest mage. One who overlooks the entire Sky Island and one of the most annoying, stingy, strong old men in this world, was holding a gift, a colorful box, the same as his eyes, with a red ribbon on it. Open it when you are alone. Really alone, he said as he just put the box in my hands, and I didn't even know just how my hand was stretched out to hold that box. I looked at him blankly. Mom was the same, and Anna was still shocked, hugging me tightly. But I can see the ones behind us. Every single one of them, the dear cousins of mine, Rain, and all the adults were looking at this in surprise. I can say just from this much just how much they knew this character, and just how stingy he was to earn this great of a reaction from my ever-calm grandparents. It was my first time even seeing them with those twitching smiles. And he was still smiling after earning reactions like that. Unbelievable. Okay then. Harry will deliver the letter soon, as well as some academy stuff. I have work, so I should take my leave. Like hell, you can go away after doing those things. He knew that too, and anyone can see that in that sudden change of expression that took 180-degree turn and became surprised to pissed off. He will get away from this unscratched. Sure. Try it if you can. Others didn't see it, but I can see it, and I knew Rain could see that too. The concentrated bloodlust they bombarded him with. I could even see the unconscious, cold sweat that suddenly appeared at the back of his neck. His smiling, confident eyes turned hesitant, and he looked at them with a difficult smile. I will be back.
Till midnight.
Isn't that okay? His voice carried fear, and their eyes carried fire that was ready to burn him down at this very moment. That's actually scary. I didn't know if Rain's eyes can see these things as good as mine, but all these people were giving enough pressure that they can crush some normal person to death. That was almost as great as the one my gray eyes can produce in normal circumstances. This was seriously dangerous, and this Archmage headmaster before me just genuinely smiled at their smiling expressions. He was strong mentally too. Too strong, actually. Even then, have a taste of hell. There was nothing good to wish for me. He was better off with them than me. At least he will live that way. That was bad, headmaster. But looks like your owl is outside too. Have some of the most memorable days of your life. Not that you will forget this one. I stored the box, and without even giving him a second look, I turned and hugged Mom with my free hand. Anna wasn't calming down anytime soon, and I didn't want to stay in this devastated place any longer. Mom, let's get out of this place. Yes, baby. She hugged me back, with a better expression than before, and everyone calmed down because of this sudden gift thing he had just given me. But there should be a few things in the world I don't have or can't get easily. I doubted it would be something like that, but this wasn't important, anyway. Backing away, I looked at everyone that knew I was fine now and nodded my head. The place we were standing on was a devastated land that can't be compared to yesterday's. Mom was good, Anna was the same, others were okay, Zoe was smiling, Carla was the same, but Alf was blushing while looking at me. He also looked back at Rain some moment ago, not understanding what the hell had happened. Oh, he's understanding quickly. He really is a fast learner. Is this what my dear three eyes were talking about? The corruption. But I did nothing here. Well, whatever. I nodded at Grandpa and others, and we all walked out of this ruined room. The garden was the best place to have some fresh air after those things. Seals was back too, so maybe Anna will calm down while playing with her. The day had been difficult, and a headache for all of us. A warm green tea would be good for everyone. Thanks, Ian. I can tell just from the smell. This is divine. My gorgeous first aunt thanked me with a delighted smile that made her look even more beautiful. She was a tea expert and someone who just loved all kinds of tea. She was even a tea collector and one of the biggest distributors of tea in this empire. Though there were few places to grow tea in these parts of the empire, Rain's family's lands, some of our coastal islands, and most of the eastern continent were the producers of tea. But Rain's lands were the biggest producers of coffee beans as well as cocoa. South was just the perfect place for that, and I would love to go on a farm trip to one of her coffee gardens someday. I haven't seen much of this world even after being here for this long time in the past, so I wanted to see everything now that I was out of that great forest. I wanted to travel to all the places I could, and in our families, Rain, her grandma, and my dad were the ones who had traveled the most. And Rain was even more experienced, as she had just roamed the world most of the time. She had even been to the east. Though she hadn't been to the northern continent, the continent of eternal ice, just yet. We can do that one together. I wanted to travel to my heart's content. I even had Zoe show this whole world. We can do that much. It will be fun. But for now, this special tea from our tower garden was something I wanted to enjoy, just like others. We were sitting in the garden, and it was late afternoon and almost evening. On the tables with 2 chairs each and a white umbrella, we were sitting in this wide garden with everyone sitting in a pair. The adults were couples, so they naturally sat with each other, having a sweet talk over this great tea and just forgetting about the events from a while ago. Alf and Carla were sitting together, blankly recalling everything they can from my fight with the headmaster. They were in deep thought and I didn't know why, but Carla had already finished 3 cups of that tea while Alf wasn't even halfway done to his first one. I made a good amount, and aside from those 2, I had served everyone. I even set some cookies I made yesterday while cooking brownies, and they all loved it. Of course, Carla had finished all on her table. Zoe and Anna were sitting together with Seals, playing with Anna and talking with her, telling her some safe stories about me and her. And Rain's crow was in Zoe's lap, enjoying her gentle hand that caressed him with love. Zoe was special, and almost every bird and other being would naturally like her because of her natural affinity with nature, which was far more than mine. It was so high mine might just barely come close to her, or maybe even not. Well, the crow was enjoying himself, and Zoe was even sharing the special cookies with Anna and the crow. And the crow's master, my dear lovely friend, was delighted that I was sharing my own special cookies, the ones that Grandma made and she tasted in the forest. This was just especially sorry for worrying her like that, so she better not think she can have them anytime she wanted. I only had some 1,000 of them. I can't share every time. And now that she was calming down and was happily drinking her tea like that, this smile of hers, she looked lovely. Tears and sadness truly didn't suit her at all. She was best when smiling, cussing, smirking, and shouting in that ear-shaking voice. Maybe when she was being thirsty for things that were a no-no for now, like the special water attribute ice cream. Anyway, she was enjoying herself now, and I was having fun while seeing her delighted eating face. It took a while, but everyone calmed down and the garden's calm atmosphere made it easier for everyone. My second aunt was crying for a while just like Rain's mom, but those 2 just looked after each other with some tea while their husbands sat together, leaving their wives to each other. I just handed my first aunt her tea because it took her longer to calm my crying uncle down. Mom and Dad, they had changed quite a bit from what I knew. Dad was taking care of her, and she was better than others. Both of them had become stronger at their heart. Grandpa Jean looked over everyone with a teacup in his hand from some distance away. He requested to do these things, but I just handed him a cup of tea and then he just looked over everyone from afar. He was a fun person. I wanted to talk with him someday. But for now, this calm garden with a soothing breeze was marvelous. And this was just the perfect evening until the calmness broke up and Dad said something weird in a surprised voice. "Oh, Taika is here." His voice was filled with confusion and surprise, as well as excitement. I didn't know who this person he called out was, and I didn't know why, but as soon as he called out that name, everyone aside from me picked up their ears. A surprise and excitement-filled expression appeared on their faces, and Anna jumped from her seat with Seals in her hands. Where is she?" Anna cheerfully shouted, gaining all the attention of the people in the garden. This confused me even more, but at that same time, I heard Seals's voice in my head. "Master, I'm not sure, but I think you should see this one." Her voice confused me, but the next moment, the visual she showed me from one of her clones surprised me even more. What the hell? I couldn't believe this, and I really couldn't speak at this moment. What I was seeing was really unbelievable. "Ian doesn't know about her, right?" My dear first aunt asked in a cheerful manner, excited about something even more. "Oh yes. Ian, I don't think you know about your dad's familiar, right?" She's a really amazing, strong, and big cat. This was Mom, and at her words, I couldn't help but look at Dad with surprise-filled eyes. Oh, yes. We never had a chance to talk about her, right? I was going to introduce you when we get back, but I never thought she would just come here herself. She's really something. Dad now had an awkward smile on his face, and there was an even more unbelieving expression on my face. Dad, are you some story's protagonist? That was my genuine response to just how causally they were talking about this. And Mom, what did she say just now? Amazing, strong, big.
Cat.
Well, yes. A tiger is a cat, but a tiger. A freaking tiger. Those known as rulers of the mountains. Creatures of pure strength, royalty among beasts, as well as one of the most powerful beasts of the world in their prime. Creature of pure strength, the strength that was enough to destroy the whole of a mountain. Ferocious beasts, at the same time creatures of purity. Nature and mountains. The highest-ranking beasts, yes. They were some of the most famous, purple-ranking beasts of this world. They mostly lived on high ground and mostly mountain rangers or ruled a sole mountain. Their nature, elemental affinities, and powers differed as their surroundings. They were natural rulers, kings of that mountain. And every other beast respected them. They just so unnaturally accepted them as their king that it was unbelievable. Tiger. A beast that bows before no one. Creature and symbol of strength. Possesses some of the best natural instincts. Master of elements they wield almost from their birth. Possessors of high natural energy that make other creatures just bow before them if they wanted.
Tigres.
Are awesome creatures and one of my favorite beings in this whole world. And my dad had one such being as his familiar. This fact wasn't just hard to believe, but it was almost unreal to me. I knew Dad was a genius mage and all but a tiger. And not just any tiger, even Dad might not know this, but tigers rarely had more than 2 elemental attributes. And just like him, this familiar of his had 3 elemental stripes. I could say just from the colorful stripes on her body, she was a rare tri-elemental tiger mostly found in the western parts of the Empire and Western Continent's mountains. It is not like there aren't any people with a tiger as their companions. There are, but I don't think there should be more than 3 with one like Dad. On top of that, all of them were prominent figures in the world. Even in history that I was familiar with. Every single person with even a normal tiger as their companion, was a great person with many achievements. Though they weren't rare, not like seals or even the Rain's crow, tigers loved peace. They lived alone, found partners, made families, and lived alone until their children were able to handle themselves. Then they leave them on their own and find a new place. Tigers made partners of a lifetime, and although they loved their children for a long time after the children were of age, they solidified their hearts and left the grown children. Or, in some cases, when the child understands they are ready, they just separate from their parents on their own. To find a place to call home and to find a partner to be with all their lives. And they were highly powerful creatures of nature and loved by mana. And being loved by mana means that mana would just follow their orders whenever they wanted. In simple terms, they can cast spells just from a simple thought. They were strong creatures, wise, sometimes even more intelligent than humans, and when they grow to their limits, they could even transform into a humanoid form. It was difficult to believe that Dad had a tiger as his companion, but just how the hell will he handle her? The tiger was beautiful, gorgeous actually. She was also an adult, not a cub or child, or even a teen at her age. The creature that Dad had as a companion was an almost at the peak stage tiger with immense powers. I could see her almost flying through the jungle at a surprising speed right now. Even after putting all seals' clones after her, most of them could only barely catch up to her with their limitations. This tiger was amazing. Just her presence that seals described was world-changing. And it was even more surprising that Dad got this lady tiger, and she got close to him in just a few months since I hadn't seen him last time. It was for brief moments, but I could see her face while she was running like this all her time. She was anxious right now. And maybe, in those eyes, there was fear of something happening to him. As well as happiness to be able to see Dad once again. Anna was happy she will be seeing this big kitty once again. And I knew this much, that tiger would love Anna too. Dad didn't have this companion the last time we exchanged letters. And I wanted to hear just what things had happened with him, that he now suddenly had a tiger as his partner. How he met this magnificent creature, how they two got together. And just why a tiger fell in love with my dad. Not that he wasn't lovable. My dad was someone who definitely had as much charm as Rain's grandfather, even at this moment. It was understandable if she just fell for his body or strength or magic, but did I ever explain how demi-humans came to existence? I wanted to know about him and this tiger he named Taika. And I didn't have to worry about her for longer, as just in some moments Seals was changing POV for me. We heard a loud roar of a ferocious predator. And when my eyes fell on her form, I couldn't help but admire this creature. Just amazing. A wild beauty, I dare say. A large body almost taller than me. Strong visible muscles. Sharp white claws hidden in those larger POWs. Sharp golden eyes, and there was a smile on her ferocious-looking face. And that smile was strangely a genuinely happy one that appeared as soon as she spotted Dad. A larger colorful body with a base being orange and white, while the stripes, which are usually black, are green, red, and blue. She ran towards Dad with a cheerful roar, which I understood in words or as an actual language. Darling, you left me in that hose and vanished without telling me anything. You know how worried I was, HM. Just the normal beast language, nothing to surprise me. But one thing did surprise me about her. She was strong. And it was clear just from that relieved look and eyes that had markings of tears. She loved my dad. Well, damn. She looked gorgeous. She looked happy. This was a story I wanted to hear, but there was a sudden surprise on her ferocious face just before she reached him. Suddenly stopping just before Mom and Dad. With a confused expression, she turned toward Anna and started walking. Anna was happy, so she ran toward this big kitty and hugged her. And she happily cuddled the little angel too. But then, as if mesmerized, she walked to Anna's table and looked at Zoe. I knew it. You. There was a shocked expression on this tiger's face, and it would be just the expression a being like her would make when standing before a divine beast like Zoe. And this wasn't something I wanted others to see. Seals. I knew she would understand just from my call, and she did as she flew from Anna's shoulders, leaving the confused Anna alone and set on the back of this big kitten. Hello, Lady Taika. It seems like you recognize Zoe's presence. But I would appreciate it if you just keep quiet about this. We all know the rules, right? That aside. Hello. Very nice to meet you. I didn't think Dad would find the partner of his life in the short time I didn't see him. I believe he must have told you already, but I'm his son, Axion. Anna's big brother, and that person is Zoe. I'm her guardian. That much should explain everything, right? Tigers were wise creatures, and they learn most things naturally with time. Being creatures closest to an important part of nature, mountains, tigers learned some truths on their own as they lived their lives. They recognized the elements as blood and the color of blood that ran through the rulers. Through the beasts like them and creatures of higher standing was naturally something unfathomable. And decadent of a high phoenix, someone who had lived for more than 20 millennia, was naturally too much that this tiger would naturally ignore her master. She was smart enough to guess Zoe was a divine beast just from the way she looked into her special eyes, and Zoe knew that she recognized her as well. So, Zoe just stood up and patted her head, smiling warmly like looking at a cute little child. Anna, she really is a cute one. She shouted and talked with Taika for a while through special telepathy that can't be seen even by Rain's eyes. And after that, Taika the big kitten nodded her head with a warm smile, totally understanding everything, and nodded her head with more happiness-filled eyes than ever. Looking at her with a wild smile, she roared, in her powerful voice, "Wow, it really is amazing to have a kid like you. He really is the best mate. See, I knew it. But, well, it was none of my business. It was between Mom, Dad, and her. I was just a child, no need to think too deeply about adult matters." She shouted in a roar that made everyone forget the things that had just happened. And aside from the old ones, Rain, I, and Dad, everyone actually was affected by this power. Not Anna, though. and she didn't need to forget about anything. She was the first one to know Zoe would be the most amazing being she would see in her life. Mom, Carla. Everyone just forgot this, and the surprise on their faces vanished. Dad and others understood the meaning of this one too, and I was surprised Dad actually understood. But they did and just acted as if nothing had happened. They understood if someone like Taika acted before Zoe like this, then it would naturally mean she was a really special being. Well, Zoe really was a special being, and that was an eternal fact. That aside, Mom liked Taika quite a bit, from the looks of this love. After bowing at Zoe and even admiring my special natural affinity, she went to Mom and Dad and just jumped on him. And Dad just hugged her as a lovely master would. Though she was 2 times his size, that didn't matter here. He had a bright smile on his face, and he even apologized for leaving her like that. As if Mom and she were sisters, they talked about how things had been at our home in the capital with Dad translating her words. Mom then introduced her to everyone, and Taika greeted everyone with a big hug. Others can't understand what she was saying except Rain, Dad, and me. Anna could naturally feel what she felt, and that was making her chuckle merrily. Even Rain and I can't back our laughter when I heard her words. People would have different reactions to these words, but even I couldn't hold back my laugh. Damn. Wow. Hot. 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 Why does this family have so many cute faces? An old, big, healthy piece of meat. He's strong too. Ah. Yes, yes. Come here, darling. She was hugging Rain's grandpa right now, and she was taking all the feeling she wanted. Oh, he smells nice too. Ah, violet winds are amazing. Strong ones with world authority are definitely rare in this world. But all of them are strong and have big assets. Wow. Master has such a lovely family. This lady too. Yes, yes. Come here, hottie. How can I miss a hug from a strong lady? They are my second favorite. And now Rain's grandmother. She was a character I started liking just from this much. She was too funny, pure, and too open to not like. Rain was barely holding back her laughter, covering her mouth as we sat on our spot in the garden. If others can see this big tiger's face, coated with pleasure, and hear those weird voices. Ah, yes, babe. Ah, ha ha ha. I really wanted to stop her from this sudden laughter, but even I couldn't hold back right now. Anna was young. They wouldn't suspect even if she laughs without any reason. We too were different. This one was a burst of low laughter, and they thought I said something that made her laugh, and she just buried her head in her hand, one hand lying stretched on the table. Well, why not? I grabbed the hand that she deliberately left like that for me, and the laughter stopped. I knew now she was blushing, but, well, Taika was something else, truly. Oh, Sister Null, you know this is just heaven, right? Far better than that lonesome house. Why did you even leave me there alone? You wanted to enjoy all these hot, strong pieces of meat alone, didn't you? Yes, yes. They are all amazing people, aren't they? This was Mom's answer to her not safe for work words, and this was unbearable. Ahem. I almost choked, trying to hold back this laughter, and she clenched my hand, helping me to handle this thing. What the hell, Dad? Where did you find this character? She's awesome. I can't help but admire just how he was speechlessly sitting in his chair, calmly drinking tea and not even showing a strand of hesitation. If only he can control his sudden sweat, he would have escaped the eyes of the old ones too. But, well, they didn't care much even while knowing this tiger had a peculiar speech. They just liked this big kitten, and I respected them even more to just let go of something like this. If only they could hear these things, I knew they would cough blood that they just nodded at her in agreement. Taika. She was saying things even I can't handle, going as far as pairing Rain and my grandpas and grandmas. And she didn't stop just there. There were other members of this big family, and she talked about everyone. My hot sister, give me your husband. I will take good care of him. She was asking my first aunt, and naturally my first uncle was caressing her neck, something every cat loved. Yes, yes, yes. You know how to please me, hot human brother-in-law. She knew what a brother-in-law was. LMAO. Why was she making those weird noises then? Ian. I don't think I can. She was at her limits, and there was still my second uncle left. Oh, will they go to Grandpa Jin too? Oh, Mother Nature. We can't laugh, not here, not loudly when they are like this. Or, well, why not?
Rein.
Let's just it be. Even I'm at my limit. This tiger, Taika. Oh, Dad. Those were my last words, and then... First, she burst out in laughter and I followed after her. Ha ha ha. Everyone looked at us and we had our heads on the table, holding one hand and just looking down while Taika just continued her parsing for all the males in this family. For nature's sake, she didn't even leave Alf and me alone. The little fruits would grow to be a fine trunk too, right? Master's gorgeous hot son already has a mate and doesn't look like he's into old ones like me. In that case, let's just corrupt this young boy. And she wasn't going to stop there after those words, saying something even more inappropriate, and Zoe knew, so she smacked her big head while Alf was still patting her just like my first uncle. No, bad kitty. No going too far. Good job, Zoe. Just that now everyone will know you can understand what she is saying. Yes, Taika. Alf is young. You might hurt him if you hug him like others. Zoe is so smart. How nice. Or not. Mom thought Zoe was hitting her because she tried to hug Alf like others. So others didn't even try to think Zoe can understand what Taika was saying. Though the older ones already knew she could understand her from her merry giggles with Anna. The surprising thing for me was Mom genuinely treated this big kitten like a part of our family as well as almost her sister and not like some pet. She was introducing others to her, and Taika understood everything, and she was grateful for having this wonderful family. She was just joking. I hope she was about all these things, and maybe that was the reason Dad was so calm. She came here because she felt alone by herself back at home, but Dad had no choice but to leave her there. I can understand his thoughts. And I knew as much that beasts like her couldn't pass through the warp gates because of the limitation of a single type of body configuration and some complicated stuff. Even the second uncle left Tully back at home. But maybe she was on her way like Taika too, so she will be here too in a while. Tully had great mobility and her speed was unlike any other aerial beast, but the distance and terrain between capital and south wasn't something that can be crossed in a few hours. Even if Tully had kept up with Taika most of the time, Taika moved through a forest like a speedy fish tearing the ocean waters. The jungle and mountains were Tiger's lands. She can cross an entire mountain in moments with her basic skills alone, not even needing to use anything else. So Tulu should arrive in a while, but we all had our familiars present now. Taika really was a funny one, and now that she had stopped fantasizing about stuff, I had calmed down. But Rain was clenching my hand from the moment Taika called us mates. Well, let's calm her down first. What happened? I asked in a low voice, almost inaudible in this noisy garden where everyone was talking or playing with the big tiger with a loud roaring voice. But I knew she heard this. Nothing. She answered in a voice even lower than mine, almost like moving her lips. And she was laughing in a brave, confident, strong voice just a moment ago. This weird friend of mine. Taika's a beast, a predator at that. Her words were just normal, probably right from her own point of view. She knew what she said would sound inappropriate from a human perspective, but to a beast like her, it was what it was. More than that, we were the weird ones knowing and being able to talk that special language of hers. Now, why would a human know a tiger's language? Simple question, right? And she was a witch, so it was fine to some extent. Her special magic, as well as the old magic, naturally made her a great polyglot like me. And even though this old lady friend of mine understood stuff like that, she was overthinking the word mate. There was nothing to overthink there. Absolutely nothing. Nope. It was just Taika's way of calling two people who like one another. Don't think too much about it. I don't want to get arrested, you know what I mean, right? I knew it would be difficult to keep the wild hormonal changes and stuff under control, but it was a small matter. The big question would be what to do in situations like this. She just fell into deep thought on just a single word, and there could be a time I might be the same too. What then? We can't survive something dangerous like the evil spirit if we do fall for something so dumb as this, right?
Rein.
I said it quite a few times in these some hours we have known each other. It's not like you to act foolishly like this. Yes, I love that blushing face, but You are overthinking right now, not fantasizing. You know the difference, and you still pointlessly do this. Do you think I can ever find someone even close to you? This was a grave, deep question, and a basic foundation called trust, and an immovable trust in our case was the only thing that will make us us. We had the foundation, a natural foundation, but time was the only thing that could solidify that. It was difficult to put it in words, but I knew she understood what I was saying, and there was no way I was even going to try finding someone else. She was already a part of me, no take back now. We don't have that policy here. There was the first time everything. And I didn't want to search for the second time in this life in this matter. I was like these beasts too, maybe after living among them for this long time. I only ever wanted one, and there was only one chance for this dark heart of mine. If you doubted that something would go wrong, we would part ways, cliché shit like that just from hearing the words of a powerful beast, then darling, you are mistaken. When I like something this much, there is no way in this nature I would let go or betray that belief. I don't know how things will go with us, but I do know for sure we will walk the same path for this. While holding hands just like this. The flow that this thing started at and what was going on is too weird, right? Well, even I can't do anything about that. We both were sitting before each other, forgetting all the background chuckles, laughs, and fun they were having with the big tiger. We were holding hands, fingers interlocked with others, looking at each other in this quiet moment, and she had calmed down after hearing those last words. Even more. She was now relieved, happy, and back to her normal self. The smile on my face made her smile, too. Actually, she smirked with a playful smile. Damn right, bastard. You will never find someone like me. The smirk on her face was deep, and this behavior that suited herself perfectly relieved my heart. Then she sighed. And I don't think there's another one as perfect and weird as the one before me. The amazing archer who can kill a target from miles away. A close combat expert that can enter the zone at will with different fighting styles. A mage and weapon wielder who just loves what he's doing. An amazing chef I won't be able to find anywhere. Plus, if we aren't together, how will I meet my beloved Anna more frequently? Plus, there's that special ice cream. And even before she can think of reaching those words, I cut her off, fully knowing she will say something like this sooner or later. No. And that was the quickest, cleanest, and the simplest answer I can give to her popping desires. And as I knew, her face was suddenly clouded with disappointment and anger. She looked at me with furious eyes, angry and cute. How is she cute when being angry like this, God? Okay. You can have it when we do the spirit summoning ritual after dinner. She was pouting just a moment ago when I declined her request, and that was just a subtle change of expression. And I saw it so clearly that I won't ever forget it now. Let's consider this one a free gift. No need to tell her. But, as soon as I mentioned the spirit summoning ritual, forget Rain, the old ones who were just so naturally feigning ignorance, turned their heads toward us with an excitement-filled look. I genuinely forgot we were with our family and that even after speaking in this almost inaudible voice, the strong old ones could hear us. Your fault. She complained after the sudden transition of facial expression of surprise to a playful smirk. And well, yes, my fault indeed. Now they won't leave us alone. We both sighed in helplessness, knowing full well just how they will do everything in their power to see this summoning ritual. And if it were me, they knew it won't be anything normal. Now they had another entertaining thing to see before we go back to my new home. And we were helpless here. I knew she will be coming with me after this talk a moment ago. But our chance of some alone nighttime was ruined. Can't be helped. What has happened has already passed away, so we can just stay in the present and do what we can, and wanted to. We were happy, though. Taika had cheered up the mood, and we had completely forgotten about that test from a while ago. Taika, she was quite something, and I pray Dad can have enough strength to handle this beast that possessed Indigo. Ranking strength even at this moment. Oh right. 3 eyes. True mountain tiger. Familiar name. Taika. Strength. 201. Dexterity. 218. Stamina. 222. Magic power. 159. Intelligence. 102. Skills. Elemental order. wise gaze, ruler's presence, wind walk, nature restriction elevation, calmness of wild, ultra instincts, miniaturization, camouflage hunter senses, red release, blue release, green releases, territory marking, evolution. She's an undeniably strong being, and if you so much as think of going against her, we won't be alive to see the next light. A true being born to rule, and that same noble being has chosen someone to serve. That person would be truly a being of incredible personality. It is rare for a ruler to serve under someone, but every one of them knows one thing. The one they chose would undoubtedly become an important figure. She as a companion knows just how strong her master is, and even after having the strength to kill him, she can't be certain. They share the same elements, but even then, the tiger that Mana obeys is a strong magical being. But there is always more to a creature following another creature aside from strength. There might actually be another unique reason she followed her master. But still, she is happy with the things she has now, genuinely happy. And she has quite the way with words, nice lady. Unlike a certain someone. Yes, that master is my dad. And what have I done for you to say such words? Am I not a good master, my beloved baby? Do you know just how much I'm grateful to have you? You are amazing, always amazing. Someone I'm proud of. An amazing ability. My amazing ability. I felt a weird sensation in my mind as I said those words, and almost like some little child was embarrassed. This sensation felt tangling. This skill was mine, as the master had said in the past. And I was the one who controlled it. Even if it becomes something far stronger in the future, it will always be my ability. And we both knew this much. That aside, after I finished reading the status window, and when even a beast like Taika didn't notice this, I knew my skill was truly far stronger than my appraisal. And Taika was strong. Like really strong. These numbers were some of the highest ones I had ever seen. The skills were something so unique I was seeing them for the first time even while knowing what they did and how they worked. The skills were strong. The stats were high. She was familiar, and she was still some years away from achieving her full strength. She was an adult, no doubt, but she was a beast that could be far stronger than she was now. But that was okay. From what I can tell, she was only some decades old. Nothing for a tiger. They lived for millennia, becoming godly beings that single-handedly ruled whole mountain ranges. Their power sometimes even rivaled weaker divine beasts, but divine beasts were different creatures altogether. Though she was some of the few purple-ranked creatures I have seen in my life, I have seen worse, and I mean really ferocious worse creatures of just purple rank through Seals's eyes and voice. I had even seen two passing through with my third eye, but at that time, I was practicing just at the ends of the barrier, so I could say I was just lucky. And the creatures of purple rank in the dark forest were even more ferocious beings one cannot even think of. Well, not everyone has seen a hydra or drake, or one of the most gorgeous beings in the world, the Lion of Moonlight. I was fortunate enough to see one, but it was just for a moment. In total, I had seen around 12 purple rank or potential to be purple rank beasts, including Taika. And most of them were dark creatures or undead creatures in the area of a dark forest. And though dangerous, I now wanted to visit all 4 of the gates of the great forest of Kamet. And if this faithful life allows it, I will have some great adventures like that in the future. But for now, I was here with them, and I wanted to stay just like this, for as long as I can and become an adult, and then the engagement. Her hands are soft despite being a scythe wielder, gentle and smooth. Maybe her lips would be the same. Well, I was just thinking of some useless stuff while looking at her calm face, and I knew from those sly eyes, she was thinking of some more dangerous things than these. Well, we weren't restricted from having fantasies of our own, like, why not? Someday it was going to happen, not soon but someday, right? And this was a quiet evening. In her guardian's backyard, we had our families. Tully was here too. And she was quite a different bird than the most normal ones out there. Sitting before Zoe, this eagle-like bird was looking at her with great reverence, as if looking at the being of the highest standing. And Zoe quite actually was one. Phoenix is the ruler of all birds, creatures with the highest standing within any kind of bird, and even though Tully was a royal, She was still just a low-ranking creature before a divine being like her. And Zoe, being Zoe, just caressed her and started talking with the crow and this little eagle. The three of them looked cute, and Mom was playing with Taika with Anna sitting on her back. Anna had an amazing expression while riding this giant tiger, and she looked quite cute. Everyone's familiar, those who had it naturally, were here. Alf and Rain's dad didn't have one, but Rain's grandmother sure had one, and it was also some of the most magnificent creatures one could ever hope to see. And if all the familiar were here, requesting to meet him would be a perfect time. No. Where's Leonardo? I asked while looking at her, and even though we didn't say a word this time too, she miraculously understood the complex name I had used. That big turtle stays in the back forest near the lake. He can directly feel how Grandma is doing. He's also big, so he avoids coming here if not asked. Even I didn't know how I was understanding these long lines. Magic. Well, everyone's familiar is here. I just wanted to see the famous guardian turtle of Atraxia. 2. I smiled with an admiring expression, and she could feel just how genuine I was at this moment. And it was reasonable. We were talking about a creature that has been part of this house from even before he found his master. The stories of the guardian turtle were known throughout the empire, and I had naturally read them from the time I was with Mom and Dad at that border townhouse. A guardian beast saved by the previous duchess from a distant forest and protected and raised by her with great care. She wasn't her master though, but they treated each other as family. And even after she passed away and become one with Mother Nature, he continued guarding this family as their guardian beast. And maybe that was also the reason the previous duchess added a turtle mark at the corner of their family's insignia that had stayed unchanged from the time of the first patriarch. Now, there was a purple base with a golden pattern of a peculiar shield and 3 swords, as well as a turtle at the very right corner of this insignia. And though this had caused a large commotion at that time, enough to be recorded in history, they had no say against this matter. The previous duchess was someone like my mom, an excellent merchant mom, as well as someone who possessed the power of authority, stronger than even my mom's. Her words were enough just to make even someone of Tier 7 strength kneel before her with just a word. She was strong, and I would have loved to meet her, but, well, not even my mom was born at that time. The beast stayed as a part of the Atraxia household and continued as it grew with time. Actually, it was a rare, indigo, ranked beast almost thought to be extinct. Maybe the one here, as well as some in the Great Forest and areas like the Great Forest, meaning the Forbidden Zones, were the only ones left. Well, they were enormous creatures, and Seals had seen one such beast, though the distance was too great and I couldn't see it myself. Seals was good with describing details, and I knew that creature was something I could never want to harm. The one she saw had become part of nature itself, almost becoming a mountain. And I hadn't seen this one, but I knew the guardian of Atraxia was at least bigger than this giant castle-like estate. It wasn't that big when he met Rain's grandma from the stories, though. After a certain stage of time, these creatures, the great earth turtles, gain a fitting elemental affinity and start growing as adult beings. They gain strength, power over mana like tigers, and the ability to control the entire terrain. These creatures of the earth are wise beings that live for thousands of years, becoming one with nature after a certain period of a lifetime. Well, this one was the greatest and maybe the most powerful familiar in our family for now. This turtle was the strongest, maybe some of the oldest here, and a creature who reached its full potential a long time ago. He was the strongest he can be, unlike the old crow who had some space for growth as Rain was far from reaching her full strength, or even Seals who was the youngest familiar in this family. And if every familiar was already here, why not a giant turtle too? And Rain can see this anticipation-filled look in my eyes. So she smiled happily and looked at her grandma, who merrily chatted with my grandma over the great tea and shouted, "Grandma, Ian wants to meet Leo. Can you please call him? Anna would like it too." Leo. She was surprised by the sudden question and Rain's voice was loud. So everyone heard this clearly. And naturally, this caught Anna's attention. "Who's Leo?" She shouted in her ever-cheerful voice from Taika's back with her cute, radiant smile. And she wasn't the only one to cheerfully shout like that. There were others who were surprised by this sudden request too, and although it was unreasonable, even they knew she wouldn't actually mind calling the creature, even if it was too big for this place. And after Anna's cheerful question, the others, especially Alf, also shouted in a loud voice, "Leo! You mean the guardian turtle of Atraxia." His voice was loud, his heart beat faster, and the expectations-filled eyes were also something that made our moms chuckle. And, after he mentioned the word turtle, Anna shouted again, "Turtle." Anna wants to see the turtle too. Daddy said they are big, strong, and cool creatures. We have one here too. Her question was expected, though. She was a child who had seen less of the world than me. Even I haven't seen a turtle for a long, long time. Not with my own eyes, that is. Turtles were mostly sea creatures, and land turtles are mostly found in island nations or distant places, so seeing a turtle was a rare thing in itself. And here we were talking about a familiar, strong energy beast who ruled over the surroundings they walk on. Everyone knew the name Leo, and even if there was something of that name, it was easy to guess what Rain was talking about from the way she said it. And this really was something we would all like to see. Meeting the guardian who had protected their family for more than a few decades. And although the creature was young compared to its millennia-long lifespan, he had completed his growth. The creature was large, and Rain's grandma was helpless against the star-filled eyes everyone was giving her. Sure, he will love meeting such marvelous people, too. She was hesitant, but she didn't disagree with these selfish requests of us young children. Even I had starry eyes while thinking just how great that creature would be, and I really was excited to meet an indigo, ranked perfect creature. Rain, sitting before me, was enjoying my excited expression, which I knew she definitely found cute. And I didn't mind that one. There were some unique expressions of hers I liked more than her blushing ones. Just shaking my head at these thoughts, we all looked at Grandma, who had closed her eyes and bent down and touched the grass-filled ground. She was feeling the grass and the earth with her hands, and maybe trying to feel some vibrations of the earth, or communicate with the earth itself. Well, whatever she was doing, after a few moments, I heard Seals's voice in my head. "Master, he is big, but nothing compared to the one from the forest." And after saying that much, she shared the vision of a mountainous creature, slowly walking through the forest, but not crushing the trees in his path. It was strange, and as we looked from above, this looked even more surprising than looking normally. A giant turtle with a giant scaly back, a round hard rocky back that looked like a mountain in size. Though his whole body was green, from its legs and shell, to even its tall head coming out of his shell, one part of its body was different from this entire green body, covered by forest moss and plants. Its eyes, they were blue, deep, filled with wisdom, and so big that they looked like a small pool of water. As it moved with this giant body, the earth didn't shake like it normally should, but instead, the trees in his path moved and made way for him to pass, and after he passed from that place, they returned to normal. The turtle exuded a significant amount of natural energy, something I had only felt when I met the golden deer family. The power to just naturally influence nature and the element of nature those beasts controlled. Indigo, rank was a stage few creatures could reach even after having the potential and bloodline of that rank. Not the true potential of an indigo rank. What I was seeing right now was the true indigo rank. Strong creatures of nature, being that had the ability to naturally influence nature. Purple, ranking creatures like Taika, though were different beings altogether. Just being one of the creatures of purple rank meant they would reach that rank even if they did nothing and just hunted creatures in the wild. And how much a creature of purple rank grow after reaching the limit of their rank was all up to them. Their life and their master, if they had one. Purple ranking creatures were fundamentally different beings altogether. Unlike other beasts, they can change their forms after reaching a certain stage, then evolve into stronger creatures. But at that rank, they aren't energy beasts anymore. They are normal humanoid creatures who were once a beast. The natural restrictions, abilities, power, and strength they had would also change after that evolution. And Taika was a creature that will evolve after a few years when she reaches the stage which she will definitely reach. And Dad was her master. It was all up to him how he treats her, handles her, and how their relationship develops. This evolution would even make her far stronger than she was right now, and I know she was damn strong. Even more than this giant turtle. She was strong right now, and she will grow even strong, and that was what tigers were. She was born to rule, and serving under someone weaker than them was fundamentally the last thing they should do. But Taika was different. More than that, she was weird for a ferocious being like tigers. She was a special one among her kind, just like Tully. Taika saw the true potential of Dad, which was genuinely higher than Rain's grandma. And the old lady already knew that. Not only that, I still did not know what had happened and just how these two met, but I knew one more thing. Taika genuinely saw Dad as her master and respected him and all of us. Not just because we were his family, but she was just that different. She was an excellent partner, and so was the giant creature which had just exited the forest area, and I can see it with my third eye now. He was big, enormous if I said so. I had seen few who were of his level, and even then, he was a familiar, something that would have been impossible for normal people to see. But I was seeing this, and he was closing in with an unreal speed. Just a few more steps and he will be here, but, well, he was a strong creature for sure. We watched as a large figure entered everyone's field of vision, and the position of the sun made him even more visible, lighting the scaly back of the turtle with its golden light. This was evening. Soon it will be sunset, and Leo would have to go back as soon as we were finished here. He was a good beast, and right now there was a turtle smile on his beaky face. He was an old grandpa, full of wisdom, and without a doubt, a strong creature. 3 eyes. Giant earth turtle. Familiar name. Leonardo. Strength. 180. Dexterity. 174. Stamina. 165. Magic power. 149. Intelligence. 93. Skills. Elemental request, nature walk, earth powers, terrain ruling, mana speech, defensive fortress, spinning wheel, magic cancellation, wise one, protection scream, metal creation, green blood guardian. Look closely. Watch, observe, and memorize. This is what a truly powerful being with this much strength looks like. This is the limit for a creature of similar rank, and creatures of higher rank than this are a creature of unfathomable strength. Though this turtle is cute, don't fall for those adorable looks. The creature has a very high affinity with earth attributes, and the level of control it has is magnificent in itself. A great being, and one who knows what its true powers are, unlike someone who has barely touched the surface of this ocean. I know already, and don't worry, we have time, and I believe we can reach even higher than just reaching the maximum. It wasn't even a question. I am weak. I was weaker than even Rain if we talked about pure strength. I can defeat her, sure can, but not normally. I had this golden fruit, the special artifacts, all the enchantments on Asta, and the scripted spells in my mind to help me. Without them, I might even lose to Alf, let alone Carla. I was still weak even while having all the knowledge, skills, soul nova, and magic. I can just memorize stuff. I was not a genius like Alf or Carla, not in a normal manner anyway. My talent was archery as well as energy manipulation, and both were difficult to actually use in combat against strong opponents. Even my original skills, I was far from being able to utilize even half of their powers. I was just lucky to reach upper intermediate mastery and stage 2, for my eyes. I still had a long way before me, and I wasn't worried about anything. Things will go well, I knew they will. But that was for future me to think, not the me who had the whole family around me, watching the giant creature who was looking down at everyone and, especially me. He wasn't a ruler like Taika, so I knew he won't know about Zoe, but he was eagerly looking at me right now. The shadow of its enormous figure cast upon this entire house, and the way how every servant and people from the house were outside, looking at this creature with excitement and surprise. I knew calling him here was something bigger than I thought. But the beast was already here, and instead of looking at his master who had been on his deathbed for that long of a time, he was looking at me. He was looking at me with genuine surprise, and even I didn't know the reason behind this. His deep blue eyes were sparkling as if he was looking at something very interesting, and I really had no idea why he was like this. I wasn't the only one surprised like this though. Everyone was. And we didn't have to think too deeply as the giant creature smiled down at us and opened his mouth and spoke in an old, but clear voice. "Aren't you special, young boy?" His voice was like an old wise turtle from an animated movie that has become an all-time classic and was even watched in my time in holography and VR. That aside, the curious look in his eyes caught everyone's attention. And, well, his eyes were big. Almost 2 meters of diameter eyes, his height almost being 15 or 16 meters with his head still not fully out. His length was 20 meters almost, and his smile alone was 2 to 3 meters. And although he used mana speech, something I have seen before, just his appearance was more surprising than the fact that he can talk. And Anna, as well as Zoe, were amazed by the appearance of this magnificent creature. Wow, really big turtle. Her voice was filled with admiration, and when she said this, the giant turtle's eyes went on this little angel. Oh, protected one. I see what they saw. Even I would fall for this adorable beauty. His smile deepened when he said that much, and after he said that, an even deeper surprise appeared on his face as soon as his eyes spotted Zoe. Wow. Master, it seems we have many surprising individuals with us here. Unlike Anna and me, when he was watching Zoe, or observing would be a better word, there wasn't just surprise in those giant eyes. There was confusion as well as pure admiration. I knew this was because his eyes, just like mine, Rain's and Zoe's, were special ones. And this was a very rare skill of their kind which rarely manifested in few ones. The Wise One, an ability that is similar to Rain's old magic, but not just at that level. Rain's skill was special, amazing, and a cheat skill found only in ancient creatures of indigo rank. And I have heard her story of how she fought an unreal enemy, experienced her first zone, and even gained this skill after that fight a few years ago. That was an amazing story, and I know we will talk about it again someday. But the skill Wise One wasn't just a skill of this turtle's race. It was some of the very rare common skills that can manifest in any creature of this world, be it weak or strong. But one thing was sure, beings with these skills are always special, smart, more intelligent, as well as wise. In addition, they can see the true potential, as well as get an idea about some special powers of other beings. And I can tell from how his eyes fell on me first before anyone else. He sensed Rana. Then he saw a new blessed one, a young child, no less. And at the end, his eyes met a being whose potential he can't see, creating surprise as well as awe. He knew what it meant when he can't see someone's potential. It's so overwhelming he's too weak to even fathom its depth. And even I will forever be grateful that I not only just knew someone like her, but I was her guardian and big brother. Zoe was a special being, and I couldn't help but admire her forever. Anna was just amazing, and just a glance at her true potential was enough to at least make your heart waver. And he was an old being, a wise one who had worldly awareness at the very least. Though it was difficult for normal humans, I knew the old ones in my family already knew about the special existence deep within me. The soul was the most basic and fundamental energy, and all the living as well as non-living. Practically everything possessed soul energy in different forms. And the ones like me and the headmaster, those who possessed a soul armament, looked just weirdly different. The turtle looked around the garden, spotting Carla and Alf, and looked at them with pleased eyes. I knew his master was talking with earth vibrations almost like telepathy, and this was amazing. The connection was difficult to breach in, and I didn't think I could interfere with the complicated spell without using the very few breaching spells I had in the script. And I had no need to do such a thing for now. The master and familiar were happily looking at each other, and he was glad his master was all right. He even looked at me for a moment, saying thanks with his calm expression, and I nodded with a happiness-filled smile. This grandmother was a good person, and, more importantly, she was someone important to Rain. I was just happy from the fact that I could help someone be with their loved one, and grandmother, no less. Even happier that it was someone close to her. If we hadn't met in that forest and I didn't have that cure, I didn't know just what had happened to us. Would we be like this, holding hands, sitting before each other? Maybe we would. Maybe this would have inevitably happened, and we would have met in the future anyway. Maybe we would have somehow found each other and started with friends, true friends, and then more. Maybe we wouldn't have. But I didn't want to think about the negative one. We were together with both our families like this, and there was a giant turtle before us, smiling and laughing like any other beast present. He was a good creature, that I can say for sure. He was a special one, just like everyone in this family. But he was the most normal creature of his kind. Not rare as an origin beast, not a royal breed like Tully, and not a ruler like Taika. He was an earth turtle, and he knew it better than anyone else. He was the strangest being present right now, even stronger than our grandparents if things were right. He was a creature who knew the most about himself, a nigh-perfect creature of its kind. Well, now every familiar was here. The youngest and smallest being Seals, then Tully, then the old lion, the giant tortoise, and at last the beautiful crow. Rain's crow was the oldest in this family, and her grandma's giant turtle was the biggest. This was the complete one, and now things had also calmed down. Leo bent down and bowed his head to talk with everyone, and just his head was 1/3 size of the estate. He was barely inside the estate, his back body being outside of the gigantic walls. But Anna liked this big turtle more than her giant kitty, Taika. And the way she gave more attention to this giant creature didn't go well with the big cat. She got jealous and even tried to take Anna away from him, but Anna refused her, understanding what might be going on in her mind and her feelings as Anna's mother. Well, Anna understood everything and gave both beasts a kiss, asking them to become friends. And Taika just accepted that she can't have this sweet angel all to herself. She wasn't someone who would become a certain someone's. And Anna wanted to play with this new grandpa turtle who can talk. Maybe after Seals, this was her first time seeing a beast that can talk. And this turtle was interested in Seals too. Seals was playing with Anna all this time, and when he noticed her, he can't contain his curiosity. Anna, being Anna, introduced the two, and I just watched the little girl having some fun. And this was wonderful to look at, a pretty and wholesome scene. She had fully recovered from that shock from some time ago, and this was all thanks to Seals and Zoe. Maybe the crow too. Mr. Turtle was also helping Anna, playing with her however she wanted. Taika then went back to her owner, to my mom and Dad was talking to his kitten about her words. Dad knew we knew what things this big cat was saying a while ago, and I can't help but remember those things. And this person before me was the same, almost wanting to laugh at those words. But we can control this much, and more than that, we were holding hands. This was no lewd thing if some cultured person was out there. This was pure. This was a pure thing, devoid of the stuff that one might think. No, neither of us had those thoughts, especially her. We were good children who knew things, and even though difficult, we knew the time would come to cross the boundaries. I wanted to see the big turtle, and I had fulfilled my wish. The sunset was approaching, and this was going to be an outside candlelight dinner. And I could have made the dinner today myself, but the mood was too nice, so I wanted to do something else. And everyone was the same. The house chefs were good, no doubt, and everyone was already tired from the things that happened today. So, the dinner, then the old ones will accompany the two of us for the spirit summoning. And then, if things go well, I can have a good sleep. Alone, obviously. We were leaving tomorrow morning. Everyone had work after this weekend, and I also wanted to see the great capital. Well, I won't have to worry about a thing, as I will have one of the greatest guides with me in the capital. The guide? This pretty girl. How's capital? I asked this great guide sitting before me, and she smiled with a confident expression. It's an amazing place. From the outer area, the markets, the inner areas, the area of upper standings, everything is amazing. Of course, there's your mom's auction house, one of the attractions of the empire. I have been there many times, and I just know you will love that place when you go there in the future. Aside from that, there are many unique street foods, high-class hotels with great food, and cool places to play around. It's a great place. You will have fun there. She smirked at that last line, and I didn't know if it was just my imagination, but she definitely said, "You will have fun." Ha! Nice joke. But you are coming with me. No joking there. Just stay with me for a while and help me get used to this new place and capital. Well, I knew asking her to stay with me was too much, but she understood what I was trying to say. And this little old childish girl just smiled calmly at me. She didn't answer with words, but I already knew she was going to come with me. Well, the day was coming to an end with the golden sunset painting the horizon with its marvelous colors, and we all knew this would have looked from higher ground. And what better higher ground than this giant Leo's head? But, well, not many had much interest in seeing this sunset. Rain and I had seen the sunrise together, so we just transported to the same rooftop to see the sunset too. Well, I would have loved a dinner here too, but this place was dangerous. Anything can happen here, so we went down as soon as the sunset was over and only some color remained on this horizon, and the night sky greeted us. Ha! The day was fun, and now there is her special spirit summoning. I wonder what special one will come at her call. It would be fun if it's a cute one. It would be amazing if she has a baby of her own too. She will have a great practice for the faraway future. And this sudden thought of mine made me chuckle unconditionally. I didn't mean it in some weird way you all might think, but it was true in the end. If in the end there was peace, I wanted it to be with her and the special people in our lives. Lives are short, but they definitely become epic when a narrator who loves his work more than anything describes them. Dinner was nice. I complimented as we walked in the hallway of the first underground floor. This was already early at night and almost everyone had gone to sleep after some chatting and playing. This had been a good day if we exclude the test and stuff that we went through because of that bastard headmaster. It was a bad one, and he will definitely be punished when these old ones walking behind us get their hands on him. It would be their fun, and we had nothing to do with that matter. But for now, they were excited to see what I was going to do. There was an excited smile on their faces, and they weren't bothering Rain and me as we talked about normal stuff. Well, I'm waiting for the day you make something special for me, just like that ice cream I will be having in a while. She really was excited to eat that ice cream, and I really didn't think she would like this that much. And if she was enchanted by this one this much, I had no idea just how she will react after just having the scent of the darkness flavor. That one actually was one of my masterpieces, and I really loved that one as well as the light one. If I want to explain just the sweet scent the darkness flavor had, then I would say it is something close to a superfine dark chocolate, while the light flavor was something like white chocolate. But they were too rich and good to be just at that level. But she won't be having that one anytime soon. It has been some months that even I tested those two. Well, I knew the 4 grandparents walking behind me weren't just here to observe the spirit summoning. And as soon as she recalled the word ice cream, the sparkles in their eyes gave them away. The one we were talking about was special, and few could actually ever eat it. And ironically, they can eat these ice creams because of their special bodies and blessing. The 2 grandpas were king-ranked knights, and they had the world authorities, something different from the normal noble authority Mom had. This power was something that granted them the permission to use the power of that authority. However, they liked it to a certain extent. Rain's grandma had a high affinity for earth and metal attributes, no less. Well, thankfully, I had the ice cream for every higher element, too. And then my grandma. She received the blessing of some of the only gods of the ocean. She can control waves with this power. And her power was totally destructive. And maybe not many knew this. Grandmother was called the Devil of the Lighthouse. Damn, this family was filled with people with awesome nicknames and titles. My dad, Red-Eyed Hunter, Mom, Golden Demoness. Then Grandpa had 2 cool ones, Tyrant of Maris and Golden Hammer. And according to Rain, people called Anna, Ruler of Heliox. Even my uncles and aunts had cool titles and names people called them with, but that wasn't the topic now. All of them can eat that ice cream, Rain, Grandpa, and Grandmother having the water attribute ones. Her grandpa has a wind attribute and her amazing grandma has an earth attribute. It was strange just how I was talking about some ice cream right now, but it was really that much special. The water attribute tasted cool, special mint-like, but it brought the eater to all the water sources. From the mountain to the big ocean. The earth had an earthly taste, extracted from special wood and some special magic soils. And the wind one. That one was actually made from an almost extinct flower that Grandma grew in the tower garden. It had a fresh flavor of wind breeze flowing in the wide flower gardens. as well as fresh rainforests, and the morning breeze of dawn in a garden. All those ice creams were amazing, and maybe it was an epiphany that inspired me to make such amazing things. Even Grandma complimented it back at Tower Home, and she really liked the blank flavor. That one was my greatest creation and something even I can't eat even if I wanted to. I dare say she compared that one to her own cooking in a genuine sense, and that was the greatest compliment of my life till now. So everyone's excitement on this topic was valid, and I couldn't help but shake my head helplessly at this scenario. It was good that they were special people, but if someone normal, strong but normal, even someone like my dad, tried this ice cream, they would get mana poisoning, and a fatal one that might get life-threatening if not taken proper medical steps. It was that much powerful, and the requirement of having a really high mental fortitude, high elemental affinities, and physiques was no joke. And Rain wasn't going to have this ice cream for at least 3 days, probably a week after today. And I won't give even if she begs. Maybe only I knew just how dangerous of a thing this was, even with just 1 spoon. 1 spoon was enough to just poof. A normal human being. Though other races like dwarves, orcs, and elves would be fine after eating this and maybe overjoyed to taste something so natural like this. And I didn't have much of it, anyway. I had, but not for others. So only some spoons for the adults and 1 for Rain. And I will only be giving that once at a time for safety purposes. Rain is the last one. Her drooling face a while ago was also one of those special expressions I liked. Hee hee. Okay, this is it. Rain's grandma shouted cheerfully from behind as we reached one of the doors, and I suddenly jumped back, asking with genuine curiosity, why so much excitement? Ho ho ho. Don't look at us like that, Ian. You already know why we are here, right? My grandpa answered to this weird look I was giving them, and I can't help but sigh deeply at that cheerful smiling face. Grandmother laughed at this behavior of ours while covering her mouth. And she really was beautiful. My grandma. No one would say she was more than 70 years old. Same with my grandfather. He was the oldest in the family, aside from Rain, of course. He will be 75 by the end of this year, and he was still in his prime, the best he could ever be. Shaking my head at all of these old ones, I opened the metal gate and entered the wide-open room with absolutely nothing. The special training room of mana conduction. We mostly use big mana stones to increase free mana density, and the magic circle to increase the density especially engraved in this room by Grandma. Rain had a proud look as we looked at the mana circle in the middle of the room. She was happy while saying that, and I couldn't help but mumble in a low voice while seeing this magnificent work. I used one of these when training my mana to Tier 2, but that thing couldn't even come close to this one. Amazing. My voice was genuine, and this made her smile even deeper. They knew about some of my experiences in the Great Forest, and the time I broke through to Tier 2 was one of them. But maybe this was their first time hearing I used this kind of mana-gathering magic circle in that. Well, it was true that I used some of the most basic ones at that time, and the one before me is definitely marvelous. But it was true I used one of the lowest-level magic circles at that time, but I wasn't the same person I used to be, not in terms of techniques, strength and knowledge at least. We can do some improvements in this one, I said in a confident voice, and as soon as these words escaped my mouth, the grandma-granddaughter duo had their eyes widened. You can improve a highest-grade magic circle. Rain shouted, but her echoing voice didn't fall behind her grandma's. You can overwrite a magic circuit already. The wise old grandma's words caught everyone's attention, and now a proud smile appeared on my face. Yes. And don't be too shocked, but I will just do some fine-tuning to this one. This is a great spell, just enough for one to do right now, but after rewriting some parts, we can improve the effects by a little over 20%, and even before I can say anything more, the grandma cut me off and shouted in an even louder voice than her. 20%. Boy, you can't be thinking of turning this one into, as expected of a magic circuit master. Well, yes, I will turn this one into the one elf's use for spirit summoning. Well, then it won't be something like rewrite but editing. I couldn't do something this perfect in a small period of time, so I'm really honored to edit a spell like this one. Luckily for us, the elven version was actually derived from the human spell. They just modified this magic circle to fit their needs some 300-400 years ago. Definitely not something easy for even me, but certainly exciting. I wasn't expecting they would have something like this one already made. I just asked for a mana conduction room and was going to use it as is, but the moment I saw this perfectly made advanced mana gathering circle, I can't help but want to do the big thing. Rewriting or editing a perfect magic circuit was something very few, only those with mana control at the level of her grandma or headmaster could do. And I knew I wasn't even good enough to control mana as this grandma just yet. But, well, I had something I can control even better than mana. Editing a circuit didn't actually require mana, but precise control over certain energy. I will have to keep the energy flow consistent in the circuit, use mana to stabilize the whole circuit and add some useful things while removing some useless things. Plus, I had asked to maintain the mana flow I just talked about. So, as they watched with open eyes, shocked beyond belief, I moved forward and in the middle of the magic circuit. It requires a lot of material for a permanent circuit like this one, but the edit I was going to do was a one-time thing. And it was a really fun process that will definitely make me cough up a mouthful of blood. Taking out Asta from my storage crack, I caressed the red gem at the end of its body and, as always, she replied with a cheerful vibe.
Asta.
If she can talk in normal words like Rana, she would be one of the most cheerful beings in this life of mine. I had just asked her if she can execute Act 2, Paragraph 11, and she was happy to help whenever needed. The act was a group of commands and the paragraph is a particular spell or enchantment in those many things. Putting her base tip with the red gem in the center of this magic circuit, I left the big spear standing freely as a golden light escaped from the gem and slowly covered the entire ground like a stream of water covering the floor. Wow, it's even more amazing than your hammer, Brother Zahavi. Rain's grandpa complimented Asta's abilities as all of them could actually understand what was happening right now, and Grandpa couldn't help but agree with those absurd words. Even better than both your blood-crazy scythe and my war-crazy hammer. There was a warm smile on Grandpa's face that can't be explained with normal words. And what he had just said, even I was proud and grateful to have Asta. It's not every day two king-ranked knights compare someone else's weapon with their partner weapon, which is a divine artifact no less. Both their weapons were special enough to already be in history, and they were comparing those things with my little old Asta. I was honored, and the sudden, unexpected blush on my face made this baby like witch smirk with pleasure. I rarely got flustered, and that would be for a few moments only, and she liked this so much I didn't think she would want to ever miss the grand moments like this. But I knew I had something more important to do right now. The light from Asta that covered the floor actually draw a special magic circle just above the existing permanent one, and that was the one I would be tracing with my Soul Nova. My dear weapon was more than enough to activate that magic circle, as the two magic circuits were visible in this room now. I just had to trace the remaining parts of the active magic circuit under the golden light. Elven magic wasn't actually that complex like the dwarven magic, but the elves made spells that suited their high mana bodies too well. To put it simply, even if Rain can cast an elven spell if I teach her, she won't be able to exert the full power of the spell. Ever. Her body wasn't made to cast high mana conducting spells like those. She was a witch who was best at the witchcraft of death. And I was only subpar when it came to witchcraft, even with my body that can circulate energy not just like an energy beast but also as other races, or actually however I wanted. Witchcraft was close to runes, or maybe far more in terms of difficulty, and only the special physique of a witch could perfectly handle that kind of magic. And from what I knew, Rain was a damn good witch who has mastered a good number of things. Witchcraft was a separate ability from magic and scythe, not having some particular rank, level, or tier to it. Separate art that depended on proficiency just like runes. I was a good runekeeper and I was talented in that field. And I believed she would be as much pro in witchcraft as I was in runes. But still, she can't ever be that good in elven magic. So even though these spells are less complex than some different things, casting them is easier said than done. Thankfully, my master taught me all the stuff about magic I would need, and the magic circuits, circles, enchantments, and the fundamental mana weaving were some of them. Editing this one would have taken time without Asta's assistance, but when you just have to trace some lines and words, even a child would be done in minutes. So, finishing the editing of this one-time use circle I traced wasn't some grand thing. Not in my eyes at least. But for those who knew the real and genial world like them, this was an achievement far more than having a weapon like Asta. Even if that special energy is better for things like these, Ian, I don't know many who are this proficient in using that. Just by seeing this much, one can tell how hard you have practiced, and how many times you tried and tried again to get this good. It's amazing. And you are marvelous, my child. My grandmother had genuine admiration in her eyes when she said this, and I can't help but smile helplessly at those words. I definitely trained tirelessly to learn as much magic from my master as I could. And I knew we had limited time together, and that was why I wanted to learn, even more, even a little bit more every single day. It was my greed to learn new things, practice what I knew, and even perfect what I had already learned. I had seen my master's magic. The most beautiful, perfect, and unparalleled magic. I do believe nothing could be perfect, but for her magic, that was something closest to perfection I might ever see in this life of mine. Reaching even close to that point was my goal in magic. And the point I had reached right now was something a genius like Alf can achieve in a few years if he wanted. And that was even more reason I couldn't stop at this point just yet. I had a mountain to climb even if I have reached the top of this hill, and I knew I will reach even higher. I had good enough talent, time, willpower, and this unreal thrust for more. I wanted to get stronger, not just because there might be new challenges in this uncertain life of mine, but also because I wanted to reach a seemingly unrealistic place. Summit, pinnacle, top. Wanting to reach that untold realm was a greedy thing. Sure it was, but I was greedy. I was greedy, maybe a fool to desire something unreachable. But my master, she never once stopped me from things that were unreal at first. She never said something was impossible. Yes, she put many restrictions on me, but they were only till I get strong enough to overcome them. But, well, I had a spirit summoning to do for now. This is done, and the magic circle will stay like this until we perform the ritual. So, who wants the ice cream? Their faces lit up as I said that, and the cutest reaction was from my eagerly waiting little girl. My friend, Rain. So, let's start with Rain's grandma. Then Sir Moth. Then my lovely grandpa, grandma, and then Rain. There was a bright smile on my face as I said that one, and I knew she understood what it meant when I called her name very last. But before she can protest, her grandma couldn't help her amusement with the words I used just now. My lovely Rain. I see you have made good progress, young ones. So, who proposed it? When's engagement? Don't even try saying you haven't decided. There was pure confidence in her words, and she wasn't the only one like that. All the other three were the same. Even Grandpa Jean outside the room was nodding in agreement. They were suddenly asking something very weird, more weird that I knew they would ask already. We know each other for no more than 40 hours, and engagement. They had this much confidence in themselves, and Rain was ready at the moment's notice for anything. This little witch. As soon as she heard her grandma's words, she jerked her head towards me and, what can I do now? Because she was right, strangely, I had planned the time for the engagement, but, you know already, don't you? I asked with the same helpless smile to these old ones, and I knew. The oldest one, Rain, won't understand what I was saying. She wouldn't understand even the reason she looked at me as soon as that thing was brought up. But they definitely knew. All of them were experienced ones, experienced in the matter of hearts, that is. The reason they were after the two of us wasn't just because we knew we liked each other, but because they understood we won't be well while being apart from each other. They have passed through every one of these phrases, and even though I can say all these, it was still my first time feeling things like these, just like her. I just understood, but I had no experience of anything. And I genuinely just wanted to give time to every single thing. Just being driven by instincts wasn't something remotely needed in this relationship. It would turn wrong, less beautiful, less deep, and even less colorful that way. The youth was something we both needed to enjoy, and even if she had seen many things alone, seeing those same things with someone else, with a different perspective and others' eyes, would be new. Ha! Well, that was us, and they knew what I meant, so I didn't have much to say there. White crack. The same old pure white shining light emitting crack that only I could see opened before me, and I took out a single silver spoon with a green-colored spoonful of ice cream on it. And this ice cream. Just seeing this was enough for them to understand why this cute old witch of us was acting like that this whole time. When I first made this ice cream, I wasn't thinking too much about the grand things like how it will come out, what the effects would be, or even how it would taste. Yes, I wanted to create something that a particular affinity possessor would love. It was mostly for my dear master, and she loved it dearly, even genuinely praising it. But, in the end, it was just luck that I managed to create these ice creams. It was a fun thing when I was doing it, but when the first result of that unknown experiment came out, I understood I had created something far more amazing than just some normal special ice cream. Just eating 1 spoon of this high mana concentration and natural energy ice cream was enough for one to have their mana gathering speed increased for that attribute. And it worked for not only mana but natural energy too, so even special knights like the 2 grandpas would like it. Well, it was addictive, but it wasn't dangerous when taken by truly compatible and strong. Well, anyway, this wasn't something I had to think too deeply about with them. This was a good remedy for a short while, but not in the long run. But this ice cream was safe for me. I would be fine as long as I am taking an appropriate dose, but that dose was far less than these people than me. And the green spoonful that I just took out surprised Rain's old grandma quite a bit. Is that just some ice cream, Ian? It feels more like a high-grade potion, maybe almost some low-grade elixir. She was awestruck by the cool air and potent energies oozing out of it, and that definitely was amazing. This thing was amazing, and for an Earth attribute user like her, this one would definitely feel far more than what they can feel from it. Well, I had a proud expression on my face while looking at that thing, and receiving praise for your creation is always an amazing thing. I shook my head at her with a smile on my face and a new surprise appear on her face at this denial. I call this essence of Earth's freshness. Try it. It's quite good, I cheerfully suggested, and she took the spoon from me without any hesitation. There was an excited smile on her mature face, and she first took a deep sniff of the amazing scent, which was enough to remind her of the great forests and, in them, deep caves with different shining, pure minerals. Metals. That would be hard to find most of the time. High steel, mithril, adamantium, orichalcium, platinum, magic steel, ancient brass, and many more rare metal scents must have bombarded her nostrils, and I knew it was an attractive scent that would make the suitable eater restless. Just after having a sniff, one would know. This was it. This was the thing they had been waiting for all their lives. This was the thing that would give them the serene feeling of calmness. And this isn't some drug. She finished her scent-feeling thing and at last put the silver spoon in her mouth, and as soon as the cool, creamy, fresh, new thing touched her taste receptors, I can't help but shake my head at that pleased reaction. It was a divine feeling, addicting in true meaning like the zone. It was something one would do many things to have just a piece of, but, well, it wasn't something I can give even if they can have it. She was feeling all the things an attribute carries, and that ice cream was made from a certain mineral that she specifically made for me just to make this ice cream. An alloy metal born from who knows what magic she used. But she definitely created a new metal on that very spot back then and after I analyzed that thing. I can't believe, but it had no special property other than having the essential basic taste of many other metals after some basic processing. It was a strange thing, but, well, I would understand them in the future. She was in a blank state after eating that one spoon, and this silver spoon was somewhat bigger than the one I gave Rain, so she was drooling visibly, gulping all the saliva. Damn, she's a handful. Thankfully, she didn't have fierce eyes, and she at least understood the warnings I gave her many times. Even if she would be fine after eating some of this, it wasn't good for anyone's health. Aside from me and Zoe, of course. Maybe Taika would be okay too, Leo too. Without a special body or a skill that can help you circulate energy through your body, stabilize it, and redirect the excessive amount into places that can handle higher mana density. It wasn't possible for them to handle the high amount of this simple ice cream. Diwa. I made something dangerous while playing, and this friend of mine is loving it a little too much. I was just thinking too much, but, well, who knew what would happen even if she was a witch with a special body and special powers? She would be alright theoretically, but why take risks? I would love to see that desperate face over a crazy, out-of-control face any day. Shaking my head with a deep internal sigh, I turned toward her grandpa. Just like last time, I took out another silver spoon with a dull white ice cream, different from normal or milk ice cream. And as soon as he saw this, he couldn't help but take the sniff, just like his lovely wife. Well, that one would taste like many fresh winds, no need to go too deep in that stuff. And lastly, my two dear grandparents. Each of them had a silver spoon of that same blue ice cream I gave to Rain back at the communication center. I already knew all of them would love this, so I just waited for them, just looking at the confused expression of this dear friend of mine. I already gave others their portion, and they were in a trance, having their first time in that state of aesthetics. They were having fun, and the delay was making her even more desperate.
Mine.
She asked with her eyes filled with confusion and cluelessness. What? I asked with the same clueless, calm smile, and I knew this look of mine would trigger something inside her. Her eyes sharpened, and she looked at me with anger-filled eyes, and I just smiled calmly and looked back at that funny face. Don't joke around, Axion. She was getting angry, her face blushing red as she also understood this was teasing. And on top of that, she just said my name and not my nickname. She was genuinely getting worked up from just this much, and I was strangely enjoying this. The magic circle was glowing with white light, and the golden light from Asta had vanished a while ago instead. Only the core was blinking like a heartbeat. The four grandparents were almost done with the feeling and savoring of that special ice cream, and now, she was getting more restless after not getting any answer from me for a while. She was blinking her beautiful eyes faster, confused about why I wasn't giving her what I promised. Will you go back on your promise? Was this it to us? Damn. She was heating up now, and I could feel her anger concentrated only on me. Not that they wouldn't notice, so this one was futile. But her words were getting even more extreme now. This witch, she really was cute. Just a bit more, What are you even saying, Rain? I asked again with the same unknown, calm smile on my face, and then the glass broke. Okay then, Axion Heliox Cromit. I don't want to do this summoning, she shouted with a frustrated expression, her eyes clenched, and her face red in anger. And that red looked quite good on her beautiful, clean skin. And although I wanted to enjoy it some more, she was being serious when she said my full name, as well as how she turned around in frustration was actually real, saying she didn't want to do the spirit summoning just because I didn't give her a spoonful of ice cream. She really was a handful, but I had to stop this handful one, so I grabbed her hand, and just then all four of them also opened their eyes one by one. She was still frustrated, and I knew they understood everything just from a glance. And a pleased smile appeared on their faces while watching my sudden green expression and her red anger. I said I don't want to. She shouted for real this time and looked ahead to go out, only to find the old ones smiling at her. And she, surprisingly, didn't stop advancing and even dragged me along, even with my genuinely normal grasping strength. Damn girl.
Sorry, okay.
I will give you a silver spoon, so quiet down. I increased my grip strength a bit, and she hopefully stopped moving. And now, however hard she tried, she wasn't going any further. Her anger was sweet in my eyes, but the strength she was exerting right now was something else. Calm down, Rain. Please. I pleaded to this genuinely hot-headed witch who finally, after a while of holding hands, calmed down. Then she smiled, didn't even look at the smiles of these old ones, and turned towards me, stretching out her hand, asking for the thing. And with an even bigger sigh of relief, I took out a silver spoon with the same ice cream as my grandparents and handed it to her, earning chuckles and held back peals of laughter. Rain's smile, which had hardly returned to her face, twitched in shock, and she looked back at me, eyes filled with anger. Why this? You said silver soon. She shouted, and I knew she was going to shout like this. Cute, right? I said silver spoon. That is a silver spoon. If you don't want that, then I guess we would have to do it without. And when I stretched my hand to take back the spoon while saying that, she shoved the small-sized spoon in her gorgeous mouth, the same size as the one I gave her at the communication center.
Ik wil sve ugo, Q bastard.
The spoon was still in her mouth when she shouted that. Not that I would hesitate to take it out myself. But the way she said the bastard word perfectly despite that spoon surprised me, so I just let her be. Man. She's more than just a handful one. I can't help the chuckle at this reaction of hers, and she wanted to say more, but the ice cream touched her mouth, and she fell into that great state she experienced yesterday. That pleased expression of hers was pretty, and I really wanted to see this expression for just a bit more, but there was one more reason I didn't give her that ice cream right away. I looked at the four of them and nodded, and they understood I would be starting immediately. This state was short-lived, and even if the effect of the ice cream would last for a while, I needed to do things as soon as possible. So, I quickly used quick steps and reappeared before Asta, and as she was just starting to savor the magnificent dessert, I took out the spirit stone and immediately recast a special scripted soul, Nova spell as soon as they were away from us. This was the moment I would summon a spirit for the first time to make a contract, and I wanted that spirit to be special among specials. I already had seen many spirits that she called without any stone like this one, and among them, there were special types of rare spirits. And I can force the magic circle to summon a specific type, though it takes a great toll on my mind and body. But, well, it was for her, so I believed it was worth it. And how could I do things half-heatedly when she showed me such great faces? No. Smiling calmly, I closed my eyes, and a white light covered the room. And then, the white magic circle I traced a while back turned into something entirely new. Spirits only had the ranks that we knew, but there are kinds. All kinds have their different type. Like the water attribute sprites. They have their kind, and they are all called water attribute sprites, even if they are of ice attribute or mist attribute. Both of them are of water's attribute, so they are water's kind. But then, ice and mist, specialized in dual properties like ice and normal water, warm water, cold water, healing water, or even destructive water, are the types. The general spirits can do most of those things on their own, like using normal minor healing spells, small attack spells, or maybe defense spells. But most of the time, what a spirit can do is decided from the moment they are summoned to make contact. For example, when someone calls a spirit for a normal contract, let's say an elf is the one summoning them, then the summoned spirit would be random in all cases. Though their strength would be based on the strength and energy their summoner has, their ability to learn, adapt, and handle the energy summoner has varied. And that is the reason many elemental summoners get disappointed, because they don't have a spirit that can grow any more than it has and can't learn new things even while having more intelligence. The ability to adapt and learn is a special thing few spirits possess, and summoning such spirits is mostly based on luck. Well, what if we can limit the range of summoning? What if we can narrow down the types from all the kinds we can summon? Not exactly a specific spirit, but, at the very least, a spirit with specific characteristics and intelligence and growth potential. Summoning a water attribute spirit with healing properties, high intelligence, and the ability to learn would be better than any random spirit that can use water and ice attributes but isn't friendly or just likes to cause trouble. Right? I can do that. The only problem is, I will cough some blood. Nothing serious, though. This Soul Nova spell that can limit these summoning was something she taught me, and one of the things that took me longer to learn. Like, just the spell took me 1 month, and then the execution and scripting process took another 2 months. Even now, this spell was so complex I need at least a month to finish one of these spells in scripting, and currently only had a few ready. And I used one of those here to help her get the best baby she could ask for. And after this much preparation, the mana conducting walls, the modified magic circle that gathered the spirit mana from the surrounding and increased the mana density, my special Soul Nova magic circle, this spirit stone filled with dense spirit mana that will be crucial in summoning. The special ice cream increased a person's mana gathering speed as well as attribute affinity, and most importantly, a beautiful witch. After I put my spell on the mana-gathering magic circle, which was only meant for increasing mana density, was now shining in rainbow-like colors, almost like the headmaster's eyes. But this one had far more colors than them, and the glow it gave off was also quite unique than before. Now, the magic array that was meant for mana gathering had turned into something that changed the entire atmosphere of the surrounding, and now, the entire room was filled with visible particles of spirit mana. The preparations had been completed. I was ready, the summoning stone was ready, and the one who will be the one to call the spirit after I activate this was also ready now. You took your damn sweet time savoring that one spoon, dear, I said as our eyes met and she looked at the glowing magic circle before her. She was on the other side of the room now. I was in the middle of the magic circle and our grandparents were in the left corner, which was quite a distance away from her. But they knew what was going on and they had shining, star-filled eyes as they looked at the magic array. This was amazing, and even my heart was beating faster than before. This was fun for me even though she would be the one getting a baby. Her luck was terrible, and I knew that much because she found someone like me, but, well, I had great luck finding someone like her. And I would be the one setting things, and I can only hope that my high luck, and the high luck of all the four present here, would overwhelm her terrible luck, and a cute one emerges from this magic circle. I had done my best. Now everything was up to her. And she understood this from my serious eyes and nodded with a delighted smile. My darling, already taking care of this unlucky old witch. Thanks for everything, Ian. And now she was thanking me, though that darling was quite unexpected. But well, why not? We had been called mates, maybe we had also accepted the reality, so she can call me anything she likes. I prefer Rain. Simple, cute, and special. Nodding my head at her with a smile, I got serious. Good luck. Hope you get a wonderful baby. And she shook her head helplessly at those words. Baby? Why not? What? That old witch smirked at those words, and the way she said this last thing. Damn naughty girl. Shaking my head in denial of those words, I channeled some energy to the stone in my hands and clenched my hand. The spirit stone shattered and turned into fine dust particles, and as soon as that happened, a big pure white magic circle, the same as the stone, appeared above our heads. And now, this was our turn. The pure white magic circle, which was too complex and different from the ones on the ground, started resonating with the ones on the ground. The resonation was powerful, and almost the entire room, which was made of powerful walls that can even block high magic, started shaking. I held Asta with both my hands, and as this partner weapon of mine was the core of the magic circle on the ground, I used my own energy to solidify the spell and then stabilized this chaotic resonation with the spell above. And as soon as that happened and the pure white magic circle turned the same color as the one on the ground, Rain knew what she had to do. Closing her hands, joining both her hands as if praying, she started sending all her mana into the magic circle above. And, strangely, as soon as her mana touched the circle, the magic circle started changing colors and started rotating in the air. This was strange for a spirit summoning, as the magic circle of summoning doesn't spin like it was doing right now. The old ones on the other side definitely didn't know what was happening right now, but, though rare, I knew this phenomenon. And this one was a good thing. The magic circle started sucking her mana, and she had closed her eyes, so thankfully she didn't see my face. The two magic circles on the ground and air were resonating, and the one that I draw to filter the outcome was doing what it should while the one in the air was being influenced by this. I was holding it in, but this process was too harsh on both my mind and body. Even though I knew I would be all right with just one red potion after this was over, the strain was really something horrible. But I can handle it. She was enduring the thing on the other side, so I couldn't just hold back right now. And I knew the feeling of your mana forcefully being sucked out, and it was no normal feeling. It was strange. And I knew just how spooky it felt. I knew it so well I can write a book on just the feeling of your energy being sucked out of you. And that tingly, weird feeling was something I wasn't too fond of. So we both were suffering, and the results at the end of suffering are always nice, right? At least in this situation, the reward was going to be something pretty. Something amazing and something that will definitely choose to serve such a wonderful master as my friend Rain. I wanted to cough up the blood that was gathering in my mouth, but I clenched my teeth and waited for the summoning to finish. And, thankfully, it didn't take that long for the magic circle to suck out enough mana from her to summon the intermediate ranked spirit. The magic circle that gave off this colorful light started changing colors, and slowly a green color started replacing the giant magic circle. This green was strange, as green as the tree leaves, but she should have summoned a water spirit, not an earth, nature, or wind spirit of green color, right? The one coming out of this magic array should be a water spirit and not something else, but I knew there could be more color to a simple elemental spirit. We can't judge things just from the summoning color of the magic circle, and so we all waited until the creature was here. She was exhausted from the mana drain. Her breaths were heavy. But I couldn't hold back this thing any longer. Ahem, ahem. I coughed out a bad amount of blood, and I knew the four of them would be worried from just the sheer amount that covered the floor, but I lifted my hand and stopped them. I was fine for most of the parts, so it was okay. I was doing this out of my selfishness anyway, so it was all on me. And Grandpa, who was ready to just run up to me, stopped as he saw me firmly lifting my hand. He understood I was okay, or at least I will be fine. Thankfully, I held out until the summoning was done, and just after I coughed this crimson-red blood, the summoning circle spinning above us, glowing with a blinding light. And I knew she saw me like that, but the light that blinded everyone was too much even for her, so she had no choice but to close her eyes. The light was pure, bright, powerful, and blinding. But, well, this one was nothing compared to what I have seen before. So I was fine, and I had enough time to clean all this blood and drink the red potion to heal all the damage. And as the bright green light vanished, and she was able to see me once again, I smiled at her. And my warm smile at least calmed her sudden wild heart. She was fine, the four of them standing some distance away were fine, and now, after both magic circles on the ground and ceilings had vanished, there was something new with us. Something actually adorable. And as mine and all of their eyes fell on this cute little thing, we can't help our warm gazes. No, we had succeeded in summoning a wonderfully adorable being. My eyes were sparkling while looking at this baby, and everyone else was the same. But as we were looking at this being, this little one was also looking at the one who summoned her here with confused eyes. Meow. This creature was small, cute, had 4 tiny POWs, a somewhat translucent fluid green body with white stripes and golden eyes, and she was looking at Rain with confusion. Yes, naturally this was a kitten, a damn cute one, and she was the spirit Rain summoned. And just the fact that this spirit had a certain fixed form and not an uncertain form or just a blob of element showed just how special this being was. A spirit's growth potential, intelligence, and learning capacity greatly depended on what form they have, and the abilities they can use depended on their colors. And this adorable, confused thing that looked at Rain with innocent and worried eyes looked so cute. I now wanted something like this one, too. But the kitten, without looking at anything else, was just looking at her summoner, Rain, with a troubled gaze, asking her what was wrong. The kitten showed concern for this unknown person who summoned her and was now just fallen to the ground on her knees from exhaustion of her stamina and mana. And even though Rain was concerned about me, she can't look away from this kitten after the summoning. And when the kitten showed concern as her first emotion, it was enough to tell this was an excellent baby. A thoughtful one, and one that already liked her summoner. And seeing her in that state didn't go well with this kitten. So the cute little kitten floated to her and stopped before her face. She was the spirit of water. She would naturally float. Rain can't help the warm look in her eyes as she looked at this spirit. But the kitten didn't like seeing her in that state, so she licked Rain's cheeks with her white tongue. A little kitten liked her face. Damn, me too, please. That was an adorable scene, and as soon as that happened, Rain's eyes widened in surprise, and fresh energy ran through her body, rejuvenating her entirely. Her mana visibly replenished. The small wounds on her body started disappearing, and even her complexion got better. And this was enough to tell every one of us what this spirit was. I envy her now. Damn. True healing. One of the rarest abilities of water attribute spirits. Looks like my great luck worked this time too, right? I can't help my smile at this scene, and this truly was amazing. Because the first ever spirit we summoned, and for water attribute my most favorite one, was a healer. A rare ability to heal in true meaning. Not only wounds but also every aspect of others. Healing small or non-fatal wounds and replenishing mana to a certain point body can treat possible internal injuries and alleviate pain, hurt, and fatigue. A rare ability and acute form, as well as a unique way to use this. And all this only because I helped her. She can't help but smile happily while looking at me, and that smile was enough for me. And after giving me this sweet look, she looked back at her new little baby with a smile that made the kitten smile too. Mew. And even her voice was cute. Damn, she really got lucky with this one. The summoning was complete. The spirit had already recognized her as a worthy master by using her special power to heal her. And now, the only thing to finish this spirit contract. Rain looked at this kitten like spirit, deep into those golden eyes, even caressed her water-like spirit body, and then kissed the kitten's forehead. Clover, please, take care of this unlucky witch who summoned a marvelous being like you. A green light came out from her body, and the kitten smiled happily at her as her body turned into particles and went into Rain's body. The contract is complete. I sighed in relief now that the process and the first ever filtered spirit summoning of my life were complete. And this one wasn't a blank summons with just a limited time spirit. I helped someone make contact with a spirit, and this was one of the cutest ones I have ever seen. And she was a healer, no less. As well as the name Rain gave her. I liked it. Clover. A name that genuinely signifies love, luck, and care. And the little kitten, a spirit who is far older than the looks, matched the name perfectly. And from the great joy she had on her cute face, anyone can tell she loved this name. Maybe it was closer to her true name or for some other reason, but Clover loved that name. But she was now Rain's baby. A smug smile appeared on my face as I looked at her, and she smirked back at me in a weird way that washed away this smug face of mine. You really are thinking that stuff, aren't you? Well, who knows?
Rein.
I shook my head in disbelief at that reaction and sighed deeply at the thoughts of this old witch. The summoning was successful. The magic circle on the ground had vanished and the one engraved on the ground had already returned to normal, and now Rain can summon Clover whenever she wanted. And, as Rain's mana was quite high and its purity was closer to mine, a perk of being a witch, of course, she can materialize Clover for at least 3 hours straight. And that was materialization. She can talk to Clover all the time as she was now a part of her, just like Seals and me. And
I'm jealous.
they can understand each other now even if she was in a non-materialized form. But I can only understand her when she was out in the materialized state, so I can only talk with that adorable kitten when she summoned her. Liked this spirit with the form of a cat, and I knew Anna would love her. Anna would adore that water-like translucent body, her cute tiny self that was perfect for Anna's size, and the marvelous golden eyes were the chocolate chips of a cake. Anna will love this kitten, and Rain would love to spend more time with us back at our home, too. But
I'm exhausted.
Ian, you need some serious sleep, my dear grandmother said as the four of them walked closer, and I knew she would have noticed this already. I had been awake for 2 days, and the fights on both days had consumed a lot of concentration and mental power. Even though I had an experience with staying awake for months, it was rarely like this one. I needed some sleep, and all four of them knew this. I would be fine without it, no doubt, but a good sleep would be just the thing before we depart for the capital in the morning. And as Rain heard that, she took a deep breath and walked up to us as I put Asta back after giving her a kiss. And Asta was just as happy as always. Thanks, Ian. For this, as well as everything, I knew just from those words, she was starting to go into that sentimental state again. And naturally, I didn't like that one, so I cut her off mid-sentence and spoke up. That's okay. Let's go now. You all have to sleep too, right? You used a lot of mana too, Rain. So go to sleep for now. You will have to introduce Clover to everyone tomorrow, right? You know Anna's gonna love that adorable kitten, right? My voice was loud, and she knew why I didn't let her finish that sentence, so she just smiled genuinely and nodded at everyone. Today has been amazing, with that talk on the tree, that bastard of a headmaster's test, the familiar gathering, and the summoning. It has been very special, and I had never thought I would have this many different experiences and fun just after getting out of that damn forest. Ha! And meeting these amazing people and her, of course. This couldn't have been more amazing. I also nodded at them and they understood the awesome show ends here. The day was good. We all walked out and Grandpa Jean, who was waiting outside this whole time, went back upstairs just when we were coming out. End of another long day and a chance for me to finally get some real sleep. But when we all parted ways on the 3rd floor, she followed me to my room, which was quite far from hers. And I just walked until I stood before my door. And after reaching my destination, I looked back at her new kind of smirk. Damn girl, what now? I asked, and she just smiled calmly with closed eyes, and I shook my head. Won't we be sleep? Good night, Rain. Clank. I closed that door on her face even without hearing her next words, and just stood by the closed door, genuinely bothered by her teasing words. I could hear her happy giggles at this reaction, and she knew I was still on the door, so she leaned closer to the door and whispered in a low voice, knowing I would hear that even with this special man-adore. Ian. Good night to you too. I could feel the happiness in those words, and I was at least happy as she was happy. Go sleep. We will have to depart early morning. Have you packed everything you would need? I asked in a genuine voice, and an unexpected reply came from her. Why would I need to pack things? This was genuine, and she was smirking outside the door from what I can see with my third eye. Okay then. Bye-bye. And I had no need to worry about anything after seeing that smirk. So I genuinely left her and closed the door from the inside and just went to my bed. And outside, after hearing my bye, she was at first confused and then she got angry pretty quickly. Damn girl. Why sudden mood swings when you already teased this little old me enough for the day? Just get some merry sleep. She went to her room and closed the door pretty furiously. This third eye was an amazing ability, and I can see inside anyone's room just while laying on my bed like this. But that wasn't something I would do or even wanted to do. This room was pretty good. Not close to the ones in the tower, but as well as the rooms back at our house in the capital. And this bed was comfortable, perfect. For a good sleep. Good night, Master. Good night, Big Brother. What about today's question? Oh yes. Ha. Lucy. Can I tell Rain everything about me? Should I tell her? How will she react to those things? Master. You wasted your question on something obvious again. I told you it's all okay, right? Do whatever your heart tells you with the matters concerning her, and you won't have to waste any more questions. For now, good night. So you say. It will be difficult, I knew that already, but even Lucy accepts these feelings. And when she said those words, I felt like the master was saying it herself. So I think I can sleep soundly tonight. Good night, everyone. In a large, luxurious room filled with all kinds of attractive items, a gorgeous boy with blonde hair shining like threads of gold was sleeping soundly on his lavish bed. The first rays of the sun were shining down on him, but he was still sleeping soundly. The room was calm, and the door of this room has cracked open so silently that not even the air in the room had changed. A tall girl with short purple hair and shining pink eyes sneaked through shadows, without any sound or even presence. She was smiling as she looked towards the bed and the person sleeping soundly on it. And that smile, it was a pleased expression, almost close to a smug. She was closing in on the boy slowly, without any presence, not even mana fluctuations. She was good at hiding her movements, and there was actually no way someone would ever know she was even there, but she stopped midway as she saw the calm expression on the boy's sleeping face. Sighing deeply, she just closed the door with her magic and then looked at the boy with an angry gaze. The boy was still the same, sleeping soundly, and not even a clue of any change could be seen in that expression. At least we can't see anything abnormal. I know, bastard. It's too obvious. Her beautiful face turned annoyed and a subtle, playful smile appeared on the calmly sleeping boy's face, his eyes still closed. TSK. You are no fun. I'm going. And after saying that, she just turned around and started walking out, but the boy shot open his gorgeous ruby-red eyes and grabbed her hand from behind. His eyes were wide in surprise, and the smile on his face was the same. But she didn't stop even after he grabbed her hand. Hump! She just shook him off casually and walked ahead, and seeing this, he couldn't help but sigh with that smile still on his face. She was walking away, and he had nothing to say at this moment. Nothing aside from one thing. Good morning, Rain. Her advancement halved as soon as those words came out of his mouth, and she looked back. You ruined my good morning. Hump. And with that, she resumed her walk once again. He was just smiling, but he didn't move from his place. This morning, she came to play a little prank, and he was awake but did nothing even while she was there, alone, locked the door, and he didn't want to start anything today. This was their second morning together, as well as the second morning where the first person he saw was this gorgeous lady. And she was angry she didn't even get to surprise him. Angrily walking to the door, she opened it with a powerful pull, and as soon as she opened that door, an angelic figure appeared before her. Shocked, she looked down, and just observed the damn gorgeous figure of this cute, freshly woken up beauty with warm eyes. Hello. Did Big Sister come to wake up yon Big Brother too? A young girl with long sparkling black hair, a green nightgown, and a pure white teddy bear with special diamond-like eyes in her hand stood there, looking at her blankly, still somewhat in sleep. Her eyes were like red gems, and the eyes of her teddy bear, which was a special gift from her big brother, were a special gemstone that reflected many colors, so it looked wonderful. This was an amazing morning view, and the green cotton cap on this sleepy girl's head was even more adorable. The previously angry girl was instantly charmed by this beauty and just stayed like that on the door, staring down at her. And, when she didn't move from the door, the little girl shook her head and passed through the narrow gap of the door and slid inside the room. He watched all this, and he too was awestruck by the gorgeous appearance of his little sister, who smiled weakly at her big brother with a wave of the hand. Good morning, Big Brother. Anna was late. Big Sister Elle got here first. He just smiled warmly at those words and her cute yawn and nodded his head. Your big sister was excited, but, sadly, I had just awoken when she came. And yes, good morning to you too, little adorable Anna. Did you sleep well? The smile on his face was warm, and her sleep slowly vanished as she heard his words. A big brother. Why did you wake up early like that? What do you mean? Her sudden words genuinely surprised him, and she just shook her head and turned to the side where her big sister stood. Looking up at her, she motioned her to come down, and Rain bent down her knees as Anna kissed her cheeks. Good morning to you too, big sister. We can't help if Big Brother was already awake. Let's try tomorrow, yawn. This confused him, and the young boy who had lived in a forest his whole life genuinely had no idea what these two were talking about. Why was it so important that they wake me up? Were his thoughts, but the young boy with that old mind couldn't understand the lady's feelings. The big sister and little girl just sighed as they looked back at his clueless face, that now had sudden enlightenment on why they acted like that. And well, it was too late for anything now. He also sighed with them, and at that same time, their other sister with orange, fire-like hair walked in from the open door. She wasn't hiding her presence at all, so they all noticed her, and the short-haired girl waved her hand while looking back at her. Good morning, Zoe. Did you sleep well with our angelic Anna? Her question was genuine, and the warm, fresh smile on her face was also something that touched her heart. Yes, Sister Elle. Anna is a good girl. She even woke me up with a kiss. Anna is amazing. The first, loud, cheerful voice of the day, and they all smiled at her naturally. Anna was amazing, no doubt about that. But this little Zoe was amazing herself. Her cheerful expression rejuvenated everyone. And a smile appeared on his face as he got up from the bed and picked up the little angel. Anna giggled as he picked her up out of nowhere and kissed his cheeks like he knew this marvelous little lady would do. The room became cheerful as the three brothers and sisters talked about their night and how Zoe was sleeping with Anna. They both were good girls, and he knew they had slept peacefully from their fresh looks. He was refreshed too, and after Anna's kiss, he was now in perfect condition. And so was Rain, the girl with short purple hair who gained her first partner spirit last night. She looked at the angel, and he nodded with an excited smile and put Anna on the bed. Anna, Rain has someone she wants to introduce. He was smiling, and although Zoe understood what he was saying, the young angel who has just woken up was caught off guard by her amazing brother's sudden excitement. And before Anna could ask any questions, Rain just smiled at her and called her partner's name, Clover. Mew. There was a small green light on the palm of her gentle hand she had stretched, and then another adorable being appeared in this already heaven-like room. The new arrival, the kitten-like water spirit of healing she had summoned last night, and her partner, filled the room with a freshness that seemed special, like green highland mountains. And as soon as the young angel's eyes fell on this marvelous small kitten, she exclaimed with admiration and happiness-filled eyes, "Pretty." That was her normal reaction, and they knew as Anna could feel the emotions of others, to her, this pure, cheerful, and good-mannered being of nature would feel very interesting and new. Everyone knew this would be her reaction, and his mom liked cats too, so he knew she would react more than this too, but that wasn't as surprising as the thing that happened after summoning. Meow. Mew, mew. As soon as Clover, the cat-like water spirit, saw the young Anna, she started dancing around her with a cheerful expression, and this genuine excitement and bright reaction surprised Rainel and him greatly. His eyes met hers, and he knew what thought had just popped up in her sharp mind. He knew this for a while after Zoe confirmed it, but it was still surprising for him every time he thought about it. She has a talent for spirit summoning. Rain exclaimed in surprise while looking at her joyous reaction of Clover. But she was only 1/3 true. She has a hidden talent for summoning elemental spirits, spiritual creatures, holy creatures, taming, as well as weapons. A weapon wielder and summoner with some of the greatest latent talent. She is normal, but, at the same time, the most special one in the family. This talent is different from Big Brothers, who realized it a long time ago. It will take a long, long time until she fully understands this talent. Even her awakening, from the looks of it, is still 5 to 6 years away. But when she starts to bloom, she will be a wildfire like no other. Special Anna. As Zoe said, Anna was different from any of us. Looking at Rain and putting a finger on my mouth, I replied with my eyes in a stern tone.
Rein.
She's young, different from us. You know, our grandparents would naturally know this too, right? There's still a long time for her. So, let's enjoy her until she is a cute little angel like this. No one knows what is going to happen in the future. It was an unspoken rule that one can only know their full talents when one finds them themselves. Hearing it from others or something similar greatly influences the minds, and so, even while knowing all that, not saying anything was the best thing. And this was my sister. I knew she will do outstanding when her time comes. Even her awakening will be special. She was a jeweled eye possessor after all. Most probably she will have 5 elemental affinities like the headmaster, and a similar high affinity with a light attribute from what Zoe and I can tell. And just like me and the headmaster, she might be able to use a special kind of energy. One that I have seen before and one that I already had with me in a small amount. It was just speculation and predictions from the history and research on the jeweled eye wielders, so I can't be certain, but I believed the possibility of her having a high affinity with arcane energy was quite high, as the energy that was second only to spirit mana in summoning, as well as more powerful when the wielder was a human. Arcane energy would be best for her too. There were few among humans who could control arcane, and the field of magic that was derived after this energy, the arcane magic arts. Though working with any energy with arcane, it was the best. Some of the famous people who could use this energy were the Emperor, who also had a crystal butterfly with a defensive skill, as well as the Grand Mage of the Principality of Lakmir, who was a jeweled eye wielder. Currently, there were 17 known people on all 3 continents combined, 6 of them being in the Empire alone who can use arcane energy. Ultimately, my Anna was the most especially talented person I knew among the younger ones. She has immense potential on the level of me and Rain. She was above the prodigies. She was just monstrously talented. But that talent was deep down inside her. And when it comes out, it will definitely be a wildfire in this whole wide world. There were a few summoners who were also weapon wielders, even fewer than magic archers. And she, most probably, would be a protagonist if this was some story. Welp, she was just the normal, cute, little Anna for me. And the way she was giggling while playing with Clover was just holy.
Oh oui, si c'était elle.
Who is this? Clover snuggled with her, and she just giggled with a gorgeous smile on her face. When I call it holy, I really mean it, and it was actually divine right now, nothing less. Ha! If I want to see this heavenly scene every morning like this. Even though this will be highlighted in my memories, it would be pretty awesome if I can actually see it like this. But, alas, she may be a future protagonist of some story. I was the current one. Or was I? I could be, or maybe it is, someone more amazing than me like Rain, Carla, or Alf. Anyway, Anna was, as always, adorable. And Clover liked her, too. Rain and I knew, and Zoe too, naturally. Anna would love Clover, but Rain was surprised Clover liked Anna this much. This little kitten was being a melted green soup in her hands as Anna tickled her neck. Anna's every touch to her spiritual body made the kitten laugh with delight, and we knew. Even though Anna wasn't using any powers, she was naturally understanding the spirit after observing her thoroughly. And Anna even gave this kitten a kiss, and this creature of green water just melted in her hands, becoming almost like a melted slime. Normal slime. The one that almost killed me wasn't slime at all. That was a demonic creature, and I didn't like it at all. But I loved seeing this one. This melted, fluid cat was really adorable. Just as we watched the two with warm eyes, someone else joined us here, too. Ian. Let's go, Anna, Elle, and Zoe. Are you already here to wake him up? And Anna. What? And before she could finish her sentence, a melodious voice interrupted Mom. Meow. The melted Clover returned to her cat form, and when Mom heard that mind-blowingly cute voice and her eyes fell on that form, Mom fixed her eyes on this charming, almost intoxicating kitten. What is this? She shouted with an excited, surprised smile, her eyes wide, and her face as bright as it could ever be. And she didn't even wait for anything and just ran towards us, and stood before Anna, who had Clover in her hands. Her breathing was heavy, eyes almost shining with stars in them, and she looked just like an excited cat person. And Clover was adorable, so I can understand just how fresh she would be feeling on this early morning. It was funny, seeing that reaction of hers, and the four of us can't help but chuckle after seeing that excitement. And even Anna was fascinated by how her mom could be so childish in front of a little kitten. Her name is Clover, and she's Rain's spirit we summoned last night. I answered with the same chuckles as Anna, and she looked at me, and then at Rain in surprise. You did it already, Ian. I wanted to see that too. She was disheartened, but, well, it was already done, and she knew it, so she just sighed at us and went back to her cheerful look while looking at her. I expected this after seeing her joyous expression with Taika, and I knew this young kitten would be even more fascinating in her eyes. Damn, my mom is a cat lover. Maybe I should give her a small cat friend like Anna's teddy bear. She would definitely like it. Well, making something of that level will take a while, even with all the raw parts completed, so yes, she will have a cute little baby kitten of her own. Making AI in this world was hard, and one that was smart enough to learn things were even more difficult. Plus, all those enchanting, processing, rune enchanting, and assembly of the almost nano parts was something very tiring. But, well, I have done that a few times, so it was all okay. Mom was happy while seeing the small kitten, and Clover liked Mom as well, not like Anna but at least like us. She even played with her, and when Mom touched the cool watery surface of her body, her eyes sparkled with even more stars. I knew she would know what this kitten was from Clover's color, room's healthy atmosphere, and special water surface like body, and I was right. A healer kitten. Damn, you all got lucky. And this baby too. Happy to meet you, Clover. My always calm, strict, and dangerous mom was a fool for this kitten. And these were some of the best moments of my life. The core image of my mom I had was a caring, cheerful, strict, and calm-minded woman, but when I saw her with Taika, as well as right now, I couldn't help the warm smile on my face. My amazing mom, the cat person. Now I understand how all the cat lovers of the world felt when meeting new gorgeous kittens. She was overjoyed, even more than Anna. And she couldn't help her warm, wide smile of pure joy. As if she fell in love with Clover, she just played with her for the time as we left them be and just went to get ready for the departure. Anna was with Zoe, and the two of them have become the real best friend, a sister duo. And Zoe even talked with Mom last night about many things, and Mom comforted her as well as promised she would take care of her just like Anna. Mom already considered Zoe her child, and Zoe accepted her kindness with a warm smile. I knew how she felt, and I knew the two of them would be all right. So, I had no worries as I went to take a bath in this room's giant bathtub. Rain went to get freshened up too while leaving Clover in my room with Mom. I knew she had already packed everything she would need, even after that last night's prank. But, well, that was Rainelle. My stay in her house was amazing, and I had some really pleasant experiences in this place, but I had my own house too. Our house. All of my family's and mine. And it was in the capital of the greatest empire on the continent. I know things would be difficult and different from this isolated estate here, but I had no need to worry about anything at all. It would be fun. And I was excited about this day for a long time now. The House of Heliox. A place famous in many books. In the capital, the most important place of the empire, the most mysterious household. You know just what happens in this place on a daily basis, and even rumors rarely get out about anything at all. And still, it is one of the most respected families of the empire. It will be fun. Sure will he. It was exciting just from the thoughts. And I eagerly awaited my shopping trip to the capital markets with my dear siblings and Rain. Let's finally get going to that place. The same place we started the journey to almost 6 years ago. I was glad I met my master. Without her, I don't even want to think about the horrible things that might have happened. The morning had been delightful. From Rain's failed attempt to wake me up to Mom's love for Clover. She was almost inseparable from her, but Rain can't maintain her materialized form for much longer, and she had to cancel summons soon after we all finished getting freshened up. She was sad because she didn't get to play with the little kitten, so she just went downstairs to play with the big kitten, Taika. Mom has changed a lot from how she was with me. With me, she was like an overprotective mother, but after Anna, she knew how a proper mother should be. And now, she also knew I wasn't the same sheltered little baby she had taken care of for those long years. I was now a grown boy, someone who was far stronger, knowledgeable, and almost like a new person. But she knew I was still that same boy she had fed with her own hands, and I also knew this. All of them were my family. We were standing before the underground warp gate now, and the two families were saying byes to each other. Rain's mom and my mom have become as close as my aunts. The ladies were definitely excited, and they had even planned a big tea party, inviting her mom to our house. Rain's dad was having a casual conversation with my dad and uncles, and they looked quite happy and relieved, too. The old ones had already finished their goodbyes, and even Grandpa Jean had said his byes to his students. I had a chance to say hello to them, and among them, their leader was the most talented one. She was good, and from how Grandpa Jean praised her, I knew she was one of his favorite. Anna was happy, and she was saying her bye-bye to Taika. The big kitty was too big and non-human to go through the warp gate, so she will just travel back the same way she came here. A great familiar of purple rank. A tiger, a ruler that ruled the mountains and can also become small, like normal cats. And because of this skill of hers, Mom loved this kitten even more. She can't get as small as Clover, but being a normal cat was enough to pass through human domains and other habitats of other creatures. And she can travel through mountains as if she is flying, so she would be back in the capital in a day without much problem. And Tully was with her, flaying her way to the capital, so it was all okay. They would be all right and will reach home by tomorrow, and I was sending some of Seals's clones with them too, just in case we get something good to see. They will just stick to their back without hindering them, so they won't even notice it. The time here was something I would never forget, but now we have to go. We have to go back, and everyone here also had work from tomorrow. Yesterday and today were thankfully weekends, so They can at least take a leave, but Rain's dad was a musician and her mom was his manager. They both had too much work on their hands. All the work from the last 2 days was most probably pending. Mom was more than capable of taking care of the paperwork in a while, so she would be fine. Even my first uncle had to go back to the academy. He is a teacher there, and someone I would see on a daily basis when I would be there. But he was professional when he was doing his work. I knew as soon as I entered the academy, I would be a normal student, just like every other one in his eyes. So he had work. My first aunt should also have some gatherings she had to attend. She was a pillar of high society, after all. Grandpa also had a whole night training, many squads, and reports to check. He would be busy for the rest of the day from tomorrow. My second uncle was also one of the best lawyers in the empire, so he also had his own work. The remaining ones, my dad, grandmother, and Alf's mom, took care of the family, and they had to check what had happened in their absence in the house, so maybe they would be the busiest. Carla and Alf had their own training and stuff to do from tomorrow. They had got some pretty toys from me, so they had to see just how good they would be with them, and I could tell from the restless look they had. They just wanted to start as soon as we reach home. Everything was going all right. I was going home. Now just one problem to clear up. Bye-bye, Ian. Hope to see you soon. Rain said in a cheerful voice and waved at me as we all gathered before the gate. She had the same smirk as last night, and this play was quite strong against me. My family was standing before the gate now, and it was almost starting as the devices connecting it was already ready. And the servants that prepared this were just chuckling silently at this smile of hers. Even Anna and Zoe were giggling behind me. Her grandpa just looked at my difficult expression with a warm smile while her grandma was acting confused. What's up, Ian? Shouldn't you say your goodbyes to your friend too? So they just wanted to play for the last time. Is this it? Why not? Let's go. Politely bowing my head at the grandma, I asked in a respect-filled manner, Grandmother Irina, can I take Rain with me to my house? She showed me her house, so it is only natural for her to come with me, right? I promise to take good care of her, so you won't have anything to worry about. My words were polite, my posture perfect, and the sudden change in the air after my words was also noticeable. The lady mages who set the artifacts and the whole warp portal blushed just from these words that almost seemed enchanting to them. Well, it was enchanting. Not that I was using anything other than some tiny bit of my mana, but it was enough to please the grandmother. But, damn, I chose somewhat wrong words. Ooh, that sounded like you were asking her hand for marriage, child. And you should ask her, not me. She laughed at the end of that line, and I shook my head with a defeated smile. Maintaining the same smile, I looked back at everyone and then at the mages and asked, can you please start the gate? My smile and words were enough to flutter the young ladies' hearts, and they excitedly nodded and got to work. This confused Rain, and she had no idea why I would tell them to start without even asking whether she wanted to come with me or not. Like hell I would ask when I already knew the answer after she played that prank twice. Let's go. Anna will show Big Brother the whole house. The little angel shouted, and at the same time, the familiar blue light vortex appeared at the gate. Let's go, everyone. And thank you for everything, Uncle. Come, Ian. Mom bowed briefly at Rain's grandparents, and everyone started walking inside the vortex with a joyous expression. Anna and Zoe were together with Grandpa and Grandma, and Carla and Alf had run inside the light as soon as it had finished the connection. I also walked forward and smiled at my dear Rain, who still had no idea what I was doing, and she didn't have to know too. I just grabbed her hand, tightly this time, and just started walking toward the gate after bowing to her parents and grandparents. They nodded while laughing at their daughter's clueless expression, which was the same until I started walking toward the portal. And she was a handful that just perfectly fit in my hands.
Oi.
I never said I am coming, you bastard. Stop dragging me at least. Nah, you are best like this. Have a nice day, everyone. I shouted for the last time as we reached the gate, and she looked back at her family and her grandma, who was bedridden just a few days ago. With a defeated but happy smile, she waved at them, and they also waved at this hopeless child of theirs. Take care of her, Ian, and have fun. Her mom shouted, and I nodded while looking back at them for the last time with a reliable smile. And she sighed with a smile. She really was her mom. A worried, helpless, powerless, but caring and warm mother. I was thankful this friend of mine found them, and I was thankful for everything that brought us together. I came to her house even before visiting my own, and now we both are going to visit my own house for the first time. And I knew that place would be as outstanding as this one. Welcome to the home we all love. I heard Mom's voice as soon as I came out of the familiar blue vortex, and this time, unlike the last time when we were underground after passing through the vertex, this time, the bright light of dawn flashed before our eyes as soon as we got out of the gate. And as always, though the light was bright, this was nothing for me. The journey was short, and just like last time, I was all right during the time we were in this blue vortex. But she was just standing there, tightly shutting her eyes and tightening her grip on my hand. And I had enjoyed her rare, one-of-a-kind expression for that 1.5 minute we were in there. But right now, as soon as we came out of the warp gate, the fresh hair, warm light, and spectacular view that entered my eyes were amazing. The warp gate in the middle of this big garden, the giant house before our eyes, the other garden in front of the house on the other side, the training grounds on the back side, that enormous entrance some distance away. All the magic spells and barriers covering this entire house, and the people that stood before us in servant outfits were amazing. The enormous house and then the smaller house with a giant flower garden just across the road are similarly covered by many powerful barriers. The city that I can see with my third eye from higher grounds, and at the very center of this whole noble district, the home of the royal family of the empire that had stood strong for the longest in the continent's history. The golden castle of the holy city of Gwyneth. A place where the emperor and the imperial family of the great empire of Roxana reside. But this house, our house, was nothing less than the Duke's estate. In fact, the night training grounds of this place were far bigger than theirs. The garden in front of the house was so lovely I can't help but admire it. The flowers and plants in the garden were rare, and there was an open area as well as a bench for just 2 people by the gorgeous fountain that was best for a private night's talk. Just that one place was so perfectly made that I can't help but admire the one who designed all of this. The house was painted in pure white and different blues, and though there wasn't much decoration on the house like Rain's home, this plain but lavish look was amazing. The night's training was ongoing at the back, and I could already see some really powerful people who already sensed someone's arrival. The line of workers that had gathered here to greet us was not big, but every one of these people in servants' outfits was an expert knight, fighter, or mage. They were all at least peak rank 2-level knights, tier 3 mages, and high-grade fighters mastered in hand-to-hand combat. And they all also had a good number of usable skills that were quite surprising for servants. So this was the House of Heliox. And now I knew just how not even most rumors came out of this house even after being in the capital. If just the servants are this amazing and capable looking, then there's no way something out of place would happen. There were naturally many assassins in shadows, all as good as the ones in Rain's house, and some of them were the highest grade like Rain's assassin Captain Julie too. Something one doesn't see in just one house. Damn. This house is nothing less than an entire war unit on its own. I can't help my flabbergasted smile and this surprised expression. I was just looking at the house in others' eyes, but this family of mine knew I saw more than just what met in their eyes. All these servants, and there was no need to tell a single one who I was or just why I was here. And more than that, I was holding the hand of someone they all knew. There was nothing more for them to think. The answer was simple, and there was admiration as well as questions in all their eyes. They were also awestruck, as they glanced at my appearance from the corner of their eyes. The servants were all standing on both sides of this path leading to the main road that ended at the front door of the house. At the very first of these servants, there were 2 amazing-looking people. A rank 6 knight, someone with enough strength to be a count of the empire at the very least with enough achievements. He was a knight, bowing before us as we came out of this portal. Light indigo hair, a fit, muscular build, a body covered with light armor, and a single-edged blade on his waist. Sharp gray eyes that knew with just one glance who I was as well as just how amazing I was. and there was a smile on his face that couldn't believe the scene before his eyes. Rain smiled at that smile, so I knew these two knew each other. They knew each other, and I knew this night before us. Well, who didn't know the Iron Heart Sir Melaire? On the other side of this powerful knight was a Tier 7 mage, same as Dad, but this was my first time actually meeting someone like her in person. She was definitely a mage. I could feel it clearly. But she was not a being we can see just anywhere. Big brother.
An elf.
Zoe shouted with a radiant face as she stood at the back with my dear Anna. Anna knew everyone and everyone knew Anna, but for Zoe, this new place and all these people were something very new. And what's more, Zoe was seeing an elf for the first time. Me too, naturally. A race closely related to nature and a race that was blessed by the mana. Beings who mostly chose to live in peace among their own kind and not interact with other races more than necessary. But, as the saying went, there are always exceptions. One such was this elf who was just as famous as the Night Sir on the other side. The Green Touch, Lady Nissa, a high mage and mage brigade captain of the House of Heliox. Her light green hair and bluish-green eyes were alluring as well as her curvy figure and those characteristic pointed ears elves. Naturally, she was amazing, too. She was far older than Rain, but, in comparison to humans, she was the same age as my first uncle. But even though she was a Tier 7 mage, she was currently far stronger than Dad. And she was a mage despite being an elf with the spirit mana and a high natural affinity with nature, the high attribute of Earth. Well, elves are mages, weapon wielders, as well as summoners in this world, unlike most fantasy settings of books. And they are actually creatures who like socializing, though within limits. They don't despise other races and just love the peace they have in the deep forests and within nature. And this person before me, she was strong. Maybe she will reach Rain's grandma's level in a few years despite elves' slow growth after a certain point. Well, by that time, her grandma would be one of the elders. So, these two amazing people were there to greet their master and all of us. And Grandpa, as well as everyone else, was happy to see them here. Anna too, naturally.